Well, here we go. We're back, baby. Back on YouTube. I can't tell you how many people, and not saying anything bad about them, but how many people on Twitter were like, "Hey, love the deeper dive, love the strategy show, love all of your guys' stuff, but why did you stop doing shows?" Like people just didn't know we were on Twitch.
Oh yeah. I mean, listen, yeah, not to get too off the rails, but I can't believe how many people didn't just look at our home account, which clearly stated I got a ton of those messages as well.
Yeah. So if this ever happens again, presumably it will, Ben. I we're not even doing anything wrong,
No.
but it keeps happening to a lot of DFS content providers. If it does, twitch.tv/awesemo. That'll get you there. We will, just so you know, we'll never not be streaming. Like if it's a regularly scheduled show, we will be streaming. It's just a matter at this point of where. So we're glad to be back on YouTube. Dave Lochran with me, Ben Rasa breaking down a 9-game slate today on the deeper dive. And I want to get a couple things. I want to hit on a couple things first, and then we're going to get cruising. We are doing at Awesome. Sorry, I'm still a little sick here, man. I might have the Wu-Tan. Getting sick. So we got a couple really cool things going on. Number one, we're doing the biggest giveaway ever at Awesome. $3,000 value. That's right, $3,000 value. You ask, what is that? I'll tell you. So we're going into our third year in business at awesemo.com. So we're giving away 1 year platinum passes to 3 people. Full out 365-day calendar year platinum passes for the entire year. This entire giveaway is valued around $3,000. And here's all you have to do. Guess the total points scored between the Lakers and the Nuggets on Wednesday, February 12th, right? So you can wait until Wednesday. That's when it is. You have to retweet, like, and reply to the post, and 3 random winners will be selected to win a very expensive yearly platinum pass, all access. Good luck to everybody. We'll remind you of this tomorrow and Wednesday, but get in on that soon. Before you forget, make sure by 10 p.m. Eastern on February 12th, $3,000 total value. How we doing today, man?
We're good. Yeah. I'm happy to hop on. Was talking some golf, but 9-game slate. It's a good one. Subbing in for Adam. Good times. Everything is well on this Monday.
Good. Yeah. It's tough to transition straight from.
I tell you what. It really is. I know you would think, how hard is that? Like if you know both sports, my mind is mush after transitioning from one to the other. So if I recommend Tiger Woods for the Pistons or something, cut me some slack.
You're good, man. You're good. I mean, it's a 9-gamer. A lot of it's straightforward. But then there's a lot of kind of wrinkles in some of these games that we got to get into. We'll kick it off with Indy and Brooklyn here. The Pacers 6.5-point favorites at home against the Nets. This is a Pacers team that has had trouble closing games out lately. 6.5-point favorites, again, 217.5 total, 112 implied total for the Pacers, 105.5 for the Nets. One thing we're seeing, and rightfully so, Victor Oladipo is getting quite a bit of ownership right now. He's sub 5K on DraftKings. Matter of fact, he's 4,200, which is just ridiculously cheap. Over on FanDuel, you've got Oladipo weighing in at 5,300, which is also fine, but 4,200 is insane. Our last ownership update 9 minutes ago has Oladipo at 35%. So down considerably from where he was this morning, but still the highest owned player on the slate on DraftKings right now.
That's honestly a little surprising to me. I'm not going to lie. I know it's 9 games and, ownership rarely creeps to the stratosphere, but this is a spot where I thought he might come in 50, 60% owned, even in large field tournaments, which is just ridiculous. At 35%, I mean, listen, you're going to have to find leverage elsewhere with one of your, within your lineup, but it's as easy as a plug and play. It's hard for him to fail, even in an inefficient game. Even if he plays badly, I don't know what would have to happen for him to really cripple your lineups, even at popular ownership.
Yeah, it's tough because he really has struggled, but at the same time, 28 minutes was a season high last game out. He's only played 5 games this season, right? We saw him go from 21 to 22, 23, 25, and then 28 in a game that they lost by 9 points to Toronto. Do you think it's possible that he can get up to 30 today? Because I think Nate McMillan might, if he's playing well, if this game's close, it's not the craziest. I think he definitely gets to 28 if it's competitive. Might not be the craziest idea to see him get to 30 here.
No, I don't think it's crazy at all. And again, this is just raising a floor on top of a price that's broken, particularly on DraftKings. So you look at it, I like to be aggressive, especially in like single entry where his ownership is going to inflate even more. With the news, and we'll see what happens, of course, with Giannis and the slate as it unfolds. Maybe you want to take a pivot off him, but there's no doubt in cash you're playing him, and there's no doubt that he's an obvious choice based on this price tag.
Yeah, and on FanDuel, Oladipo is coming in with considerably lower ownership, down at 10%. So this is definitely a site-specific thing on DraftKings. There's no questioning that. The rest of the Pacers, Sabonis, $7,800 on FanDuel. And this whole Pacers team feels kind of site-specific. Malcolm Brogdon, 15.7% on FanDuel. While on the other side of this one, Brogdon on DraftKings, 15%. Him and Oladipo both in top 10 ownership. Miles Turner came down quite a bit throughout the day. He's down at 11%. I was hoping he'd be chalk just so I could not play Miles Turner. But he's come back down to earth. Outside of Oladipo, where are your thoughts on the Pacers?
Yeah, so I agree. It's definitely site specific. You look at Sabonis, 9,600 on DraftKings. That's pretty lofty. Turner down at 51. I don't mind that. But really, with this Pacers team in general, it's Oladipo if you want to go that route and basically take what is the chalk option. And you've got Brogdon, you've got Turner that I don't mind in certain builds. Sabonis to me just a little too pricey. But it's site specific, and it's not, with 9 games, we have the luxury of not being funneled too much to this, and it's not towards the top for me.
Yeah, I don't have an issue with Brogdon. I think he's fine.
Yeah.
But Oladipo on DraftKings makes a lot of sense. Outside of that, sure, Domantas Sabonis at 7,800 on FanDuel, he's definitely too cheap against the vulnerable Brooklyn frontcourt. Besides those guys, though, there's nobody that I assume I'm going to come in heavy on, including Brogdon and pretty much everybody else. So those are the 2 guys for me. On the Brooklyn side of this one, it gets a little bit interesting because we know Kyrie Irving remains out. And right now, you're not seeing ownership on the Brooklyn Nets on DraftKings at all. There isn't a single player in the double digits. Spencer Dinwiddie's topping out for Brooklyn at 8.8%. Meanwhile, on FanDuel, it's a little bit different because you have where is he? Spencer Dinwiddie at 11, but then Karis LeVert also at 11, and that's because he's 5,600. On DraftKings, Karis LeVert is up to $7,000, and while Indy has shown some vulnerabilities, this is still a decent enough team. It's a pretty big favorite in Indiana. So what are we doing with Brooklyn tonight?
So LeVert is a guy that I do like, particularly on FanDuel. On DraftKings, it's just you're paying the premium, and he's shooting fantastic. He's really kind of tapping into to max potential. I don't know how high the ceiling is relative to that price tag. It really makes it a narrow path to get there. It's a team that honestly I kind of feel similar to what I said with the Pacers. There's a couple guys, LeVert included, that I don't hate. I'm not staunchly opposed to playing, but at the same time, I have no priority to get Nets into my lineups tonight. And if I don't have any, I honestly feel pretty comfortable.
Yeah, and look, that's where it's seemingly the same with the field as well. At least right now, we'll get updates throughout the day, and the guys on the live before lock will take you through that as well. But I don't see it. I mean, Dinwiddie at 7,500. If you end up on Dinwiddie, you're fine with it. Like I don't think you're gonna be upset if you end up with him 79 on DraftKings, 75 on FanDuel. But it's there's no priorities here outside of Oladipo on DraftKings, and that's just because he's dirt cheap and he has a 27% usage rate and 30% assist rate. Or I'm sorry, is it 27 or 28% usage You know what, Ben? I think I'm mixing him up with Reggie Jackson. I think Oladipo is actually above 30% usage. On the season in these 5 games, he's at 29% usage. And I had asked Josh something. We'll move on to the next game. One concern that I had that I expressed on the strategy show, at this price, I don't care. I'm going to play him anyway. But it does seem like playing alongside a legitimately good point guard and facilitating point guard in Malcolm Brogdon and Domantas Sabonis being a capable passer as well could definitely hurt Oladipo's upside in the peripheral department this season.
So in the long run, I think there's legitimate questions about the Pacers and where Oladipo ultimately will go in the pricing, but that's not what we're dealing with today.
Exactly.
At 4,200. Those questions are kind of irrelevant to what we're dealing with.
Yep, I'm with you there. Something to pay attention to going forward for sure. But if he's going to stay this cheap, you just got to pull the trigger and go with it. Talking about Orlando and Atlanta, something that I paid that I think is significant, and I try not to put too much weight in this, but the Hawks opened at 6-point dogs. They're now 8.5, and this is a line I expected to move quite a bit. The reason for this is Atlanta played a game last night. Now they're on the road in Atlanta. They played a double overtime game where most of their starters played upwards or around 50 minutes, right? Trae Young played 48 minutes. Kevin Huerter, double overtime game, plays 48 minutes. John Collins cracked the 50-minute mark. Yeah. So DJ's got a ton of run. And now they're going into Orlando, not the greatest team, but a decent enough defensive team. Struggled a bit lately, but this is a really tough spot for Atlanta coming off back-to-back on the road, 50 minutes almost in yesterday's game.
Yeah, and it's their 3rd and 4 as well. They played on the 7th. Honestly, so, I think a ton of people are going to see that, and I agree. It's really tough. Trae Young is someone, with the way the slate is unfolding, I think he's going to be lost to an extent relative to his upside. The problem I have is the matchup on top of it. It's kind of the cherry on top. Orlando is so slow on the road. It's really a bad spot. And I know that, the minutes are still going to be there relative. They're not going to be pushing them to the extreme coming off that game. But when you add in the matchup and the situation, it really is hard to pay the premium on Trae Young when we've got guys, we've got LeBron, we've got other top end talents on the slate.
Yeah, I agree. I still like Trae Young just because he's Trae Young, and in so many of these spots where, ownership's going to play heavily for Young for me. And I would imagine that there isn't going to be a whole lot of Trae Young love. 6% on DraftKings right now at 10-1. Like, if you're talking tournaments here, and like you said, let's assume you're right, 95 on FanDuel. Let's assume that you're right here in that everyone is seeing the same thing I'm talking about and you're talking about. And Trae Young really does come in around 5 or 6%. At his current price point, he's expensive, but it's not an astronomical salary where you can't get to that at all. I think he's just the type of player. He did it against Philly. Philly allows the fewest amount of 3-point attempts, fewest made threes, lowest 3-point percentage in the league. And he comes in there and rips them apart, even though he only knocked down 3 of 9 threes, had 77 fantasy points. Not saying that's my expectation for today, but Young, we have to at least view him as the type of player that can do that on any given night, regardless of matchup.
Yeah, I mean, to me, this situation hurts his floor and his bust rate rather than his ceiling. You look at something where he could go nuts, he could get on fire from 3, and we know he could break any slate regardless of situation. The problem is if they get blown out, if his minutes are reduced and he's not as efficient, if he just plays bad, he could have a really bad game. And when you're leveraging north of 10K, it's a tough ask. So at 6%, I definitely think in tournaments, if you're playing teams, you want him in the portfolio. But I totally get why people have some red flags based off what we've seen.
Are you intrigued by Kevin Huerter at $4,600 on FanDuel for the sole reason that, one, he's 4,600? I guess it's not the sole reason. It's multiple reasons. He's 4,600, but also he's just getting an insane amount of minutes every night. Is that enough in this particular matchup to say, screw it, 6% ownership, I can get there? Or would you rather go elsewhere at the position?
I mean, for me, that's a site specific. He's 6,300 on DraftKings. Mm-hmm. he's not going, you're getting there with pure volume, in my opinion. You're going to combine massive minutes with a really cheap tag on FanDuel, and that makes it viable. He's not a high fantasy point per minute guy or anything like that. But if he sees a ton of minutes once again at that price, pretty easy. Not going to touch him on DraftKings, though.
Anybody else for Atlanta?
No, I mean, Collins, again, he falls into what we've already discussed, 8,500. It's just a little much for me. If this was a shorter slate, of course, we'd be funneled two guys like that, but we have Porzingis, Siakam, a lot of other targets for me.
All right. What about the Orlando side? Going in reverse order with this game. It's just such a good matchup. Anytime anyone, draws the or wins the lottery, so to speak, from a scheduling standpoint, facing the Hawks, a top 3 team in pace, a bottom 3 team or bottom 5 team in defense. There are so many reasons to love this matchup against Atlanta, particularly the fact that Orlando plays at a crawling pace, as you already mentioned, bottom 5 in the league. They're getting a huge boost in pace tonight, and that is reflected in the total. 220.5 for an Orlando Magic game is pretty high. Thoughts on Vooch and Aaron Gordon and Terrence Ross and all these guys that we've got that could make some noise for the Magic?
Yeah, no doubt. It's a really good spot at home. We talked about the other side with Atlanta. This is a good spot for the Magic. And for me, I feel more comfortable in the front court. I know that Vooch is, I don't want to say expensive, but of course he's not cheap, as he shouldn't be. This is a great spot. High 8s on both of the sites, but I feel pretty comfortable spending some salary there. You've got Aaron Gordon, who to me, he's similar to what we talked about kind of with Brogdon and guys like that. If I get him, I feel fine. Not going to be forcing him in. The backcourt, even though I think you could make a case for guys like Fournier, I don't really like Fultz. It's a little more crowded, a little more unknown for me. So I think I'm going to stick to the front court, particularly with Vooch, who's the obvious choice anyway.
Okay. I'm curious to see, and not that I think it has much of an impact tonight, but I am curious to see what happens with James Ennis, because this is a team that really has a lot of expendables at the forward positions, from Wes Iwundu to Birch, who gets to power 4 minutes at times, Gary Clark. Like, could James Ennis come in and pick up huge minutes in his Magic debut?
I mean, this is why I'm a little apprehensive, because I have no pulse on what they want to do with him. There's a lot of bodies in that backcourt. We talked about Fultz. You have Carter Williams and all these wing players. I think there is a reasonable chance that happens, and it is a situation like that. That's why I'm not trying to really roll the dice too much on that spot. I feel much more comfortable with the known commodities and the guys that I know are going to be involved. Their minutes are more than secure, and the matchup is perfect.
Yeah, I'm with you. I like Vooch quite a bit today.
Yeah.
He's going to be popular, but I definitely like Nikola Vucevic. You want to move on to the next one?
Yeah, let's keep it going.
All right. So we just actually got news right now between this Detroit Pistons and Charlotte Hornets game. Derrick Rose is out. Svi Mykhailiuk is out. These were both expected. Markieff Morris is available to play. So when I talk about some of the interesting wrinkles in this slate, this is definitely one of them. The Pistons 3-point favorites. This game is just dismal from a fantasy standpoint most of the time, but things will open up, and I'll tell you why in just a moment. 205.5 total, 104.3 for the Pistons, 101.3 for the Hornets. I mean, there's not a ton to like here. I would imagine we're going to breeze right through the Hornets side of this. But as far as Detroit goes, Christian Wood has been playing spectacular basketball. We know that he's always been a quality per minute guy. He's played 34, 32, 35, and 37 minutes over his last 4 games, 35 and 37 with Andre Drummond off the floor. But now Markieff Morris returns. John Henson will be playing his second game with the Pistons. And Thon Maker was getting a lot of minutes. So what happens to Christian Wood? My assumption is that Lewis King, who is actually getting, 7 or so minutes per game, falls out of the rotation entirely. Thon Maker sees less minutes. And I think Christian Wood gets above 30 minutes again for the 5th straight game.
I do too. I don't know if it'll approach north of 35, but the way this guy, you mentioned it, he's just so active. He can contribute across the board, and he can rack up, all the peripherals, which is what we want. 7,200, more than reasonable in my opinion over on DraftKings. The Charlotte side of this game is a dumpster fire. I have absolutely no interest on that. But when you look at the Pistons, I don't mind that. Christian Wood is one of those options at power forward, center eligible. Then you look at Bruce Brown, a flat 5K, minutes are there. Not he doesn't really scream. I'm not too excited to do it, but even in inefficient games, he hasn't been killing you. And if he can get shooting, can contribute elsewhere. Don't mind the floor he gives you. It depends what kind of lineup, but I actually have some exposure to him tonight.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, it sucks going up against a Charlotte team that is literally averaging 94 possessions per game. It is just a wildly low number. It really is. Pistons aren't far off. 97.3 possessions for them. That's third slowest in the entire league. So the only worst you could do is Charlotte's in Miami. That would be the nut low in terms of pace of play. This is literally the second worst spot you could get if you're looking for a pace increase. But Reggie Jackson's played really well. And, Derrick Rose is out, which means I would assume Reggie Jackson in a close game plays another 32, 33 minutes. Are you willing to pay for him?
Yeah, I like Reggie Jackson quite a bit, actually. 6,600 is reasonable. Really what you're weighing, though, of course, on any slate, it's looking at him versus guys like Brogdon. I like him a little more than Brogdon. If Giannis sits, and we'll get there, Eric Bledsoe, similar price tag, he's going to be really popular for good reason. You could keep those shares to Reggie Jackson. Of course, you have the luxury if you want to be creative and having both of them, but he's firmly in play in that mid-range. It's just going to be about what exactly opens up in terms of other pivots.
Yeah, and we'll get to Giannis in a moment. There's definitely some interesting developments in Milwaukee. I think that's pretty much it for me when it comes to Detroit. I like Christian Wood, Reggie Jackson. I don't hate the Bruce Brown call just because you're getting him, decent enough price point. He does have a high floor, but I don't want to load up on Detroit in the same lineup is something that I'm pretty conscious about today because of this matchup.
Yeah, I mean, this is the type of game. I mean, this is right in my wheelhouse. Give me like a 196 over under old school style. I mean, they're at 205. That is, for the way the NBA's been, that is anemic. Pretty telling how slow that's going to be.
Oh, no question. You don't get this very often.
No.
Sad. And that's what on the Charlotte side, I am not excited about anything. I mean, with Cody Martin out, Batum is out for whatever that's worth. Can PJ Washington come in and play 30 minutes in the starting lineup? I think he will. I think you could do worse. But, I mean, that's just me kind of scraping the bottom of the barrel trying to make something of this. You don't ever want to be forced to think you have to play guys from a certain team when you can just ignore it entirely. And Rozier's price isn't bad. Washington's price isn't bad. But if you're getting more than trace amounts of these guys, you might get uncomfortable.
So, I mean, it's one of those situations. It's just a product of the slate for me. Every reasonable target on the Hornets, there's 2 or 3 guys from another game that I just like more. So I just don't know where I would end up getting to them unless if you're building 150, yeah, you might have a little exposure to a guy like PJ Washington. But for me, I'm not going to get there. Easy pass for me.
There is not a single Charlotte Hornets player on DraftKings, on FanDuel, north of 5% ownership. 4.4 is the highest on Cody Zeller. You want to check DraftKings out? Not much is all that different. You've got to scroll all the way down to the 7% range to get Zeller and Washington, who, like I said, don't have an issue with Washington. He's fine there, but that's really about it. You want to close this game out?
Yeah. I mean, really, like I said, you summed it up. It's slow. It's not appealing. On the Detroit side, there's a guy here and there, but I'm with you. I really don't see loading up on the Pistons as a viable strategy tonight.
3 down, 6 to go. And the deeper dive is presented by SuperDraft. If you haven't checked it out yet, I say this with all sincerity, you're missing out. And they've got the 20K jump shot tonight, 4,000 up top. They got the $7,500 long drive, $1,500 to first place. That's the PGA contest, Ben. I know you've talked about it.
For sure.
And the big thing, there's no salaries. There are no salaries when it comes to SuperDraft. It is all multipliers. For example, if you're playing NBA and you say Harden on DraftKings is 12,000, Harden on SuperDraft would not have a salary, but he would have a 1x multiplier. So whatever amount of fantasy points he scores is exactly what he gets. Give me, say, Donovan or Eric Bledsoe. It's a good example for tonight because I think Giannis will sit. Eric Bledsoe, DraftKings 6,700, 6,800 on SuperDraft 1.55 multipliers. So if he scores 40 fantasy points, you're getting, what is that, 63 or something? It's a really cool format. And I know a lot of our viewers and listeners and subs that have heard us talk about it have really enjoyed playing there. So if you haven't done so yet, if you haven't signed up yet, you get $20 in free super cash, which can be used on the site to play and win real money by signing up, depositing $100 or more, and using the promo code AWESEMO. It's AWESEMO. Get over there, do that today. Hop in the 20K jump shot, $4,000 up top, and make sure to get into some of those PGA contests as well. And at the end of Live Before Lock, because SuperDraft does not lock till 7:30 tonight instead of 7, we're going to be doing, the Live Before Lock crew is going to be giving you straight up SuperDraft strategy from 7 up to 7:30. Boom. Giannis Antetokounmpo news.
There it is.
There we got it. I knew it was happening though, Ben, because the line went from -14 to -10 without anything in between.
And that's something, we talk about a lot, Luffy. You can glean some information from the betting market. Those trends can kind of lead you to anticipate what's going on.
Yeah, 100%. And it's helpful if you pay attention to that. I try and track it real closely throughout the day to give you a little bit of insight into what's going on. And when I do the strategy syllabus, like today, when it said top plays, you can find the strategy syllabus at awesemo.com. I had Middleton and Bledsoe before the Giannis news because you feel pretty confident that that would be the case. Anyway, another team that will be pretty popular today is the Toronto Raptors at home against the Minnesota Timberwolves. They're big favorites here, 9 points, 119.8 total for them, 110.8 for the Timberwolves, and a 230 total, which among every game on this slate is going to be the highest. Norman Powell is out, Marcus Gasol remains out, and Kyle Lowry is still questionable. That's big news coming into this 7 o'clock lock.
Yeah, that's something that we still don't know, but Van Vliet, of course, going to be a really, really good play. If Lowry sits 7,600, appealing spot. The Raptors are rolling right now. And there's a lot to like on this team. You look to him in the backcourt, but then in the front court, you've got Siakam. I really like Serge Ibaka tonight. Center
Kyle Lowry now listed as probable.
Ooh. What? So let me pass that right back to you then. Do you still have interest in Van Vliet, or is he just a pass for you if Lowry plays?
I don't have nearly as much interest in him now that Giannis is out. I don't have an issue with Van Vliet. He's fine. He's going to play huge minutes, but would have much preferred him without Kyle Lowry. There's still a lot of mouths to feed on that team.
No.
Wow. Serge Ibaka's out.
Well, see what I do when I say I really like someone. Immediate dunzo.
Wow.
I didn't even know. Okay. From the cloud. So that changes some things.
That changes everything. Man. I mean, wow. Okay. So now the question is it going to be Chris Boucher? Or are we going to be getting Hollis Jefferson at the 5? I'm assuming because you're matched up against Karl Anthony Towns, a big offensively dominant center, that Boucher probably gets a large helping of minutes in this one.
I would have to lean that way too. Matchup. I wish it was RHJ. I would really like to roll the dice there, but I think it's Boucher. He's going to be obvious, cheap pay down, and that really changes the dynamic of the slate. That is a viable punt. It's going to allow people to really jam up top. And what I was about to say was a balanced build really unfolding. This is a score one for the stars and scrubs build. He's a key piece if you want to really jam a couple top end guys.
Yeah, it's huge. I mean, we're talking about a player that on the season is averaging 1.22 DraftKings points per minute and is $3,400.
Yeah. And Siakam, of course, we know he's expensive, but he's in a fantastic spot. He was in a good spot already. Really going to be popular, cash viable, no doubt about it.
Boucher, $4,200 on FanDuel, power forward eligible. It changes everything. And Nick Nurse has made life difficult for us in these spots before, but I think this is a specific matchup where I'm going to have to lean Boucher. There's always risk, but the one good thing is, and I try and point this out a lot, the one good thing is when it comes to guys like Boucher, it comes to getting value options. At least we know that, let's say he only does play 18 minutes and you're disappointed in his playing time, he could still give you 28 fantasy points in 18 minutes.
Say this on almost every show I do it, regardless of sport. I really like to attack spots where you have chances to get it right twice, and I really try to avoid spots where you have to get it right twice. And this is the former. Whereas if he plays a ton of minutes, that's a win, and you kind of live with the result. If he doesn't, it's not over. You could get bailed out by peripherals, by just easy production, and that's a nice double avenue to have. So it's someone I feel pretty comfortable with at that price tag, and the matchup I think does tip the scales to him over a guy like RHJ.
Absolutely. Now that we have this news, what are you doing with the rest of the Raptors?
Well, I mean, that like I said, now the front court becomes where I'll be attacking with Siakam and Boucher. We'll see with Lowry, but it looks like, as you mentioned, probable. Not a ton of interest in the backcourt, I think. For me, I'll stick to the big men and let other people maybe chase some of the other Raptors.
Okay. Yeah, Ibaka's not a mega high usage player, but it's pretty significant.
In the minutes, yeah. That's
Wiggy says, you don't think Boucher starts to match up with Towns? No, I said I think he does. XX Cub fan says, Laffy, last time you said that, Rondo scored in the negative. Did he? I can't get them all right, dude. Rondo, generally speaking, is the type of guy that in 20 minutes can usually help you out, but apparently not. I don't think it was negative. Well, I think it was 1.5. So, I mean, cut me some slack.
If you round. I mean, and I will say last thing, and then I'm done. Boucher, if you have lineups that you like, I wouldn't overhaul it to get him in. He's just an option. This isn't someone where it's a plug and play. There's a lot of ways this doesn't work. I definitely think he's in the player pool, but this is not a overhaul your lineups because you have to start with him as your building block.
Or is it?
To me, it's not. No.
It probably isn't. Another reason for that too is now you have Ersan Ilyasova too, even cheaper.
Yeah. And this is where Stars and Scrubs is going to be appealing, but I'm not going to throw away. I have some balance builds that I really like tonight.
No, you're right, because there's still a very good chance that he only plays 17 minutes.
Yeah. And there are ways that, again, just on the lineup construction side, you can get leverage. He is directly correlated to guys like LeBron, other top end guys. And if, depending on what happens and how the slate unfolds, there are other avenues that you can get away from that if you don't want to build around it.
What are you doing with Minnesota?
Yeah, that's interesting too. So, I mean, I looked at them and I don't know where exactly now I have. Hernan Gomez was someone that I was going to bring up that I thought was a pretty nice spot for cheap value. With Ilyasova and Boucher now, he's not nearly as pertinent at a power forward spot at 3,600. I still think you can go there. I don't have a ton to say. I mean, Towns, of course, say what you want about him. He wasn't towards the top of my mind at 10,500. With more value opening up, I'm going to have more room to pay up in some spots, but he's still not someone I was super drawn to.
And that interior defense for Toronto is not going to be nearly as stout with Gasol and Ibaka off the floor. It's interesting to me. I feel like Towns is one of these guys where I like him at low ownership. I'm not prioritizing him tonight, but I do think if you're getting him at virtually no ownership, and that's what we're getting right now, below 5%, if this is still a game that Toronto could run away with. So if you're going out there and you have Van Vliet and you have Boucher, like you have 2 or 3 Raptors, it's not crazy to run it back with Towns in some spots because you want this game to stay close. And if it does, Karl Anthony Towns is probably going to be the reason why.
No doubt about it. And he's similar. We talked about Trae Young, obviously different positions. The one problem for me is there's more of an opportunity cost at center. I really like Vooch, and we've already talked about that. And so that is hurting some of my Towns exposure just on that merit, never mind all the other viable plays.
Yep. And just kind of piggyback off of what you were saying, Juan Hernangomez and Malik Beasley. I still think both of them are viable value options, but there are a lot of bodies that can get minutes here. We don't know what Ryan Saunders is going to do. And now a ton of value is opened up elsewhere with the Giannis and Ibaka news. These guys to me are secondary plays at best that, if they land in your lineup in stars and scrubs, I'm okay with it, but definitely not guys that I'm singling out. Whereas earlier in the day, it may have come down to that.
Yep, that's exactly how I feel. I'm not crossing them off, but they were a lot more important 20 minutes ago.
Milwaukee, Sacramento, no Giannis Antetokounmpo. Like I said, we saw it go from Milwaukee -14 to -10. I think that told us all we needed to know. Now it's at 10.5, I think. Oddly, what's funny is even when the line moves like this, hell, I still love Milwaukee. I'll lay 10.5 on Milwaukee any day of the week because how many times do we see it? Giannis is out and they still win by 40. Like, I'm not saying they don't need him. They do. But in matchups like this, they don't need him. They don't need him to win by a wide margin, which is why Middleton and Bledsoe make for stupendous plays when Giannis is off the floor. Always the best on the slate when he's out.
Yep. Nothing. I mean, I'd love to give a hot take here, but I just don't have one. Bledsoe, Middleton, phenomenal plays. Ilyasova, obvious value. I guess the question I'd like to ask you is, outside of them, I mean, are you looking to other Bucks, DiVincenzo, Wes Matthews, Brook Lopez? Are those type of guys coming in, or are you just sticking to the more prudent plays?
I mean, Wes Matthews, man, it is so brutal.
It's really terrible.
Dude, it's, so I forget, the Cubs fan talked about Rondo giving him 1.5. I mean, Wes Matthews could be in the most ideal spot ever and give you 2 in 30 minutes. I do still really like Ersan Ilyasova, though. I mean, he's $200 off the minimum on DraftKings. On FanDuel, he is the minimum at power forward. I think you probably get at least 20 minutes from him. It's not a terrible matchup. It's also a front court, a beleaguered front court in Sacramento dealing with numerous injuries. So for me, it's Bledsoe, Middleton, and Ilyasova are the 3 guys that I'm really interested in. DiVincenzo's fine. If he gets 26 minutes, you could get a solid effort, but he's a distant second tier behind Middleton, Bledsoe, and Ilyasova.
Yep. I mean, Ilyasova is the obvious value on the entire slate. And now Bledsoe and Middleton are just phenomenal mid-range plays. So with 9 games, I think you have plenty of permutations to still create a ton of leverage, even if you build with, a permutation of those really obvious building blocks, because that's what they are tonight.
For sure. And I don't have any problem getting the Brook Lopez. What the opportunity cost looks like at a center position that always has a ton of options is one story, but Brook Lopez getting the minutes right now, 30 plus in 3 of his last 4, a low 5K price point. I have no issues there. On the Sacramento side, it gets interesting because this is a big, long discussion Josh and I had today. I know he likes Harry Giles a lot, and this was the one area we disagreed on. I'm worried that those minutes don't happen again. He played his normal first and second rotations, which he didn't play anything in the second quarter, which is what we've seen Luke Walton do. And then in the fourth quarter, he played the entire fourth quarter last game in that victory. My biggest concern here with Giles is that he goes back to playing 16, 15 minutes again. And that was a fluke or an exception because De'Aaron Fox wasn't on the court. Nemanja Bjelica wasn't on the court for the final 10 minutes of the game. Fox didn't play any minutes in the fourth quarter. So this to me seems like it may have been out of the ordinary when Corey Joseph and Bazemore and Hield closed the game out and played 12 plus minutes themselves. What are you doing with the Kings?
So first, I just want to shout out the super chat we just got, which was paid for us so we don't have to talk about Wes Matthews anymore. That is good stuff. Much appreciated.
Appreciate it, buddy.
Yeah, I mean, Giles, again, I didn't love it. I don't think I was nearly as high as Josh was. But the thing is, with all this now value, I'm not sure I need to really go there. that really doesn't incentivize me to roll the dice because you mentioned it. I don't know if we see those minutes. I don't know if Tolliver plays. Not that that's really relevant, but there's just a lot of ways he doesn't see those minutes. Bielitsa, price is fine. I don't mind it, but when we've already talked about a million mid-range plays. The Kings here for me, even without Giannis, they got blowout risk. There's just a lot not to like, in my opinion. So it's not a team I have a ton to say on.
Not me neither. I mean, De'Aaron Fox is fine, but there's no one I love here. Bielitsa, when that price was a little bit further down, I liked him. I still think he gets a lot of center minutes, though, so I don't hate it. But it's still, even without Giannis, it's still a tough Milwaukee defense. I guess I'll ask you the same question before we move on to the next game. The same I asked you about Toronto and Minnesota. If you are running $3 and you're worried that they only get 28 minutes because this game isn't competitive, but if it is competitive, who would it be? Would it be Fox that you'd want? Is he the guy that would keep this game close, you think?
Yeah, for me it would. But I don't know how often I'll want to burn one of those, a premium tag on a point guard position. I think there's a lot of ways where the Bucks, not that they win by 40, but that these guys see a full allotment of minutes. They're all very effective, and you don't need anyone on the Kings.
I'm with you. Dallas and Utah. Here's here's one of the few competitive games that we expect to see tonight. Jazz 1.5 point favorites, 217 total, 109 for them, 109.3, 107.8 for the Jazz at home without Luka. Porzingis is active. I was surprised to see how low Kristaps Porzingis ownership was earlier in the day. It's up a bit to 8%, but and I'm probably in the minority here. I find him still very interesting. Taking a look just at his numbers since Luka's been out, crazy production, 1.69 fantasy points per minute. He only played 21 minutes last game and missed 5 minutes with the broken nose in the one before, but he's averaging just under 60 fantasy points per 36 over that span, 34 real points, 13.5 rebounds, and DraftKings lowered his price because he's facing the Jazz. What are your thoughts on Porzingis and the rest of the Dallas Mavericks today?
So to tell you the truth, it was a guy that, of course I thought he was an interesting tournament play, but I honestly didn't anticipate getting there. But I'll say this, if you want to get a little game theory-esque, with the news in Toronto, Siakam is directly below him. He is going to get a major boost because of that. Now he's in a better spot because of it as well, but I like Porzingis now a little more than I did, just because I think he's a natural pivot off Siakam. We know the ceiling is through the roof, and you're going to get what is going to be a sliver of the ownership off the Raptors. So I might end up with more Porzingis than I ever thought I would, just based on that domino effect.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. He's literally the only thing I have any player I have any interest in from Dallas. Do you have anybody else you like here?
No, not at all. It would be him or pass for me.
How about Utah? 1.5 point road favorites here.
So, I mean, again, I know this is kind of a broken record. I like Gobert, but do I like him more than Vooch? No, I don't. Right. And I think he's a fine play. If you have a preference, of him, I totally get that. I wouldn't fault you. But for me, we didn't even get to Bam yet either. There's just other guys that really cancel out the best plays on the Jazz. And although this is maybe the best game on the slate in my mind to watch, I really want to see it. I don't think it's going to be a great fantasy one.
Yeah, me neither. I mean, Mike Conley's not terrible.
No.
Again, you have to keep this in context though, right? Because with all this value opening up, Conley was pretty solid earlier this morning. Now he's okay. I'm not enamored with anything here. Like you said, Rudy Gobert and Conley would be, for me, the two guys that I'd have some interest in. Let's do this. We actually just got an ownership update. Perfect.
Beautiful.
Boucher, highest projected owned player right now, followed by Oladipo, Bledsoe, Ilyasova, and Middleton. Giving you guys the good stuff here. This is behind paywall. And if you use the promo code Deeper Dive, all one word, you'll get 50% off your first week of Awesemo Plus Platinum membership while we're on the subject. Ownership projections, player projections, all of our premium tools and articles, all these tools developed and used daily by Alex Baker, Awesemo himself. So much more. The lineup builder, fantasy cruncher add-on, and content, tools, projections, ownership, and extra additional tools, unique tools to Awesemo for every DFS sport out there. You got to check it out. If you haven't done so yet, use that sign-up code Deeper Dive, one word at checkout. when you go to awesemo.com/join, get 50% off your first week. So there you have that. And then you have Lowry up there as well. Obviously a bunch of Toronto guys in like the top 15%. But to your point, you're going to get Siakam probably around 15%, and you're going to get Porzingis around 7 or 8%. So half the ownership.
That to me is significant. And there's just other things you can do with secondary pivot. Not that you're pivoting from Boucher to Porzingis, but there's just a domino effect of creating leverage around, the recency bias of injury news that breaks right before a slate.
I don't anticipate we'll spend much time on this next game.
No.
Denver at home hosting the San Antonio Spurs, 216 total. Nuggets 7-point favorites with a 111.5 implied total for them. 104.5 for the visiting Spurs. That's second lowest on the entire slate. For me, one thing stands out. Nikola Jokic has been playing phenomenal basketball. He looks way different than he did earlier in the season. I'm not worried about Murray and Millsap being back. I think you're still going to get monster production from Jokic on most nights, and there's nothing about this particular matchup that scares me. Can you prioritize Jokic or anybody from the Nuggets?
Prioritize? No. I mean, he's Jokic. He's fantastic. He's a premier play on any slate, but for me, it's not a priority. And then you look at the rest of the Nuggets, it's a minefield, in my opinion. It's something that I have really difficult time, anticipating getting those rotations right. You look at someone like Jordan McRae, I'm really interested to see what the deal is, what they do, but I don't think it's a situation I need to try to, anticipate, to be honest. I can pass on that with 9 games. So Jokic is always fine. Million center position guys, though. So for me, not a ton to say. And that's the good side of the game. I have literally zero interest in any sport.
Exactly.
There's nothing. So
neither do I. I do like Nikola Jokic quite a bit. I think he's a great tournament option and somebody that is actually capable of breaking slates with the upside he provides. But he's getting a relatively high amount of ownership. So you're not getting a discounted ownership on Jokic today, where at least not on DraftKings. On FanDuel, he's 8%. But with Towns is actually projected for more ownership on FanDuel, and on DraftKings, he's only at 6%. So if you're looking to play the ownership game with expensive centers, there's a pretty obvious direction to take with that. I outside of Jokic, this game is a barren wasteland. Like there's just nothing here that I like.
No, and that was the point, exactly the point I wanted to make. The problem with Jokic is Towns, to me, is the ownership leverage top end guy that I want to roll the dice on if I do that with, we'll talk about AD in a second. So it's I don't know where I exactly would get to him rather than not just using Towns in that Raptors game.
And it's funny because Will Barton's out, but like you can't place any faith in Gary Harris right now.
No.
Or Torrey Craig.
Just to tie it all in, and then we can move on. I said this once, and I'll give the other side of the example where we talked about Boucher. You have 2 chances to get it right, in my opinion. With the Nuggets guys, you have to get multiple things right just to have an opportunity. You have to get the rotation right and get the opportunity. Then the guy actually has to play well. It's just not secure, and I don't trust Gary Harris whatsoever. It's an easy pass for me, honestly.
I'm with you. Let's move it on. 2 to go. Golden State and Miami. My hot take this morning was I think the Warriors can win this game, Ben.
Ooh.
Yeah, Miami, 4th game of a grueling West Coast road trip. 0-3 coming in to this one with a questionable Jimmy Butler. I have him out right now, but that's unconfirmed. We don't know whether or not he's going to play. But if Jimmy Butler happens to sit, yeah, I think this could be a pretty tough spot for a team that is just looking really, really worn out on the road. I've watched the last 2 Miami games. The Butler injury looms large for this team. I don't know. Tyler Herro's already been ruled out. Yeah, whether I think they win or not is unimportant. From a fantasy perspective, you want to talk about, and this is why, by the way, we spend so much time on the earlier games. We have plenty of time to go, but I didn't want to save additional time for Golden State, Miami, Denver, San Antonio, because we'd just be spinning our wheels. What are you doing with the Warriors?
Yeah, I mean, again, I would love to get hot takey, and I'll say this. One of my hot takes was potentially going to be, I looked at Kai Bowman really closely. But now with value opening up elsewhere, it's probably going to fall by the wayside. And it's an interesting thing you brought up with the betting market, plus 175-ish if you take them on the money line. Not the worst, but just looking at the Warriors up and down, they fall into the trap of, again, a 9-game slate where you're not forced into guys that are on the fringe at pretty much every price point, whether it's Wiggins or Draymond or Bowman or whoever you want to say. I have other guys in the games we've already discussed that I feel much more comfortable. It'll be similar ownership enough where they kind of get boxed out on every front.
Does it appeal to you that Kai Bowman's ownership is 6% on DraftKings? He's 3,800 and 9.4% on FanDuel.
Yeah, I mean, that is appealing, and he's the same. So what I always like to do, and again, you don't want to just pivot for the sake of pivoting. He's the exact same price as Oladipo on DraftKings. You're talking about a 1/6 the ownership, something massive, maybe even more. I like to embrace spots like that and roll the dice. And that's something I may look to. But again, when the slate unraveled, the way it kind of unfolded, it just didn't make me as apt to do it. So I've lessened that what I was pretty excited about, to be honest.
All right. Miami. Bam Adebayo is in a pretty intriguing spot here. Once I get past Adebayo, though, it's Goran Dragic if Butler's out. Kendrick Nunn's okay. But if Butler sits, Goran Dragic is kind of an interesting option here. I'd expect 30-plus minutes. He's the type of guy that should have a pretty high floor in this game, which you can't say the same for Kendrick Nunn. But right now we're still waiting on the Butler news. Tyler Herro's already been ruled out. Bam Adebayo, to me, more than reasonable option. And if Butler sits, I am going to have quite a bit of interest in Dragic. How are you approaching the Miami Heat?
Yeah, I mean, Bam is just phenomenal. And I know the tag is up there, but he's one of my favorite plays. I feel pretty comfortable with him. You mentioned Dragic. We'll see what unfolds with Jimmy Butler. And the other guy that I think is very interesting, and I don't know if I'm making a big stand here saying I don't love it, is Jay Crowder. He's coming off that monster game where really everything broke right. He was on fire. He was adding blocks and steals, got a double-double. Price is very reasonable, but I would assume he'll be pretty popular. And with so many other options, he's a pivot that I feel pretty comfortable making with some of those other guys.
Okay. Top options from this game?
Oh, Bam. Not even close.
Not close. Okay.
Nope.
We got some free content on the site tonight as well. Over at awesomemode.com. If you're not ready to sign up yet and become a premium sub, if you do, by the way, join us in our premium Slack chat. It's been a wild ride recently.
It's worth it just for that. Let me tell you, it's worth it just to read our premium Slack chat.
100% correct. But we got NHL ownership projections, the NBA strategy syllabus, right? And SuperDraft NBA projections today are free. So our SuperDraft projections for NBA are entirely free today. I would definitely suggest you head over there and check them out if you haven't done so yet. They're free along with the NHL ownership projections and the strategy syllabus. And we will also have, because SuperDraft is the sponsor of the Live Before Lock show and the Deeper Dive, tonight after the first hour of Live Before Lock, what you're going to get is Josh Engelman, Chris Spags taking you up till 7:30 with some tailor-made SuperDraft content for their $20,000 jump shot. You can follow along with those free projections at awesomemode.com. All right, Ben, you ready to close this out?
Let's do it.
And hey, by the way, appreciate all you guys being with us. I know it's been a whirlwind with YouTube and Twitch and this and that. I'm glad to be back. If you enjoy the show and you want to help support us, you know the simplest way to do it is hit us with that thumbs up and like the video, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. We appreciate all of you for joining us and making us part of your schedule each day. Lakers and Phoenix. LA Lakers, 12.5 point favorites. 12-point favorites now, 229.5 total. They have a 120.8 implied, 108.7 or 8 for the Suns. Lakers are the highest implied total on the slate. Does that mean, however, that you see yourself getting to a lot of LA today?
Again, I think that the value is going to open up because for the Lakers, they're obviously a very good team, but it's really just the big names. You got AD, you got LeBron. That's who's going to do the damage, and that's what I'm drawn to. They're a sizable favorite at home. Stick to those guys. Don't mind them in the stars and scrubs build, but I'm not overly starting with them. Like I said, I like the mid-range more than most today, so I started. Now with the Bucks pieces, it makes it that much easier.
We had a question in Slack chat. Are you okay with pivoting Booker to Butler if Butler is in?
Ooh. I don't think, that's very aggressive. I don't think I would do it. I like Booker more. And I don't think you're getting a huge ownership discount per se.
I was going to say that's the biggest thing there. You really aren't.
No.
Look, LeBron and AD are fine. I'll ask you the same thing I had asked Josh today. If you're taking LeBron and Davis and all of the top price guys like Towns and Jokic and Trae Young today, where would you, because Giannis and Doncic are both out, where would you rank LeBron and Anthony Davis? Towards the top, middle, or bottom of all these top tier guys?
So I think, you got to do it in two different things. I think they're towards the top in terms of the safest. I don't think they kill you, but when you throw everything together, you have guys like Towns, Jokic, and Trae Young, to me, are the tournament pivots. But I think you can sacrifice it all and start with Vooch and go balanced.
Fair enough. I don't have anything else from the Lakers.
No, neither do I.
All right, so let's close it out with this. The Phoenix Suns are in a tough spot, but you could see considerably more value open up in the event that DeAndre Ayton, who is questionable, does not play. The Suns canceled shoot-around today, so we don't even have an idea of what the situation is with Ayton. But let's assume he's out. Kaminsky, Aaron Baines, Ayton, and Saric would all be sidelined. So that means that you're almost guaranteeing Chick Diallo getting 30 minutes tonight.
There's literally, it almost seems impossible that he wouldn't, because I don't know what else they could physically
Tariq Owens, baby.
Tariq Owens, that sounds like a creative player.
That's a real that's a real person.
I would have bet unlimited money that he didn't have a picture on DraftKings, but he does. But that's neither here nor there. Listen,
he does though, in case you just looked.
No, he does. That is shocking. And you're right. That is value that remains to be seen. And boy, if you want to get really creative, you plug in Diallo and Ilyasova, you are getting a monster start. Everything. And then Boucher. So that's an interesting last thing I'll say before we drop on off here. Boucher, Diallo pivot. I know we have a lot of dominoes yet to fall. That's something that you can consider if you're looking to be different off the Raptors' obvious Serge Ibaka domino.
100%. Outside of that, I'm not really high on Phoenix.
No, neither am I. I looked at Oubre. I think that's fine, but he didn't do anything to move the needle too much.
Well, hey, Josh Ingham and Chris Baggs are coming up next with Live Before Lock. It's been fun, Ben. Solid hour there. Flew by.
Yeah, always a fun time. Thanks for having me on, everyone. Obviously, good luck, and I'll be back soon enough.
And thanks for the super chats to everyone that helped donate. Good luck tonight. We'll see you back here tomorrow. Deeper Dive presented by SuperDraft. By the way, download that in the App Store or go to superdraft.io today. Peace.
What's up, guys? It should be starting up now. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Awesemo.com live before lock show. Got ourselves a 9-game slate for our triumphant return to YouTube, as well as on Twitch and Periscope and everywhere you should watch it. I'm Chris Spags, joined once again by my Monday pal, the Chubster Josh Engelman. How you doing, Josh?
I'm not bad, actually. It's been a pretty good day. It went kind of quick, which is also a benefit to Mondays. 3 more days to go this week before we take a mild hiatus for the NBA All-Star break.
Yeah, that'll be kind of nice. I know you're going out of town. I'll be here grinding on the XFL, of course, the Upstart Football League sweeping the nation, Josh. I don't know if you were paying any attention, but the
Certainly
nation
wasn't.
has been swept by XFL Mania.
I'm not paying attention to actual news, let alone the XFL.
XFL Mania going to be back again this week. Sal and I did the show on Twitch this past Friday. We'll be doing another one this week. But more importantly, right now, we have to talk about the future of DFS, courtesy of SuperDraft. Again, today we'll be doing the extra half-hour show. So do yourself a favor and right now go to superdraft.io and sign up. Again, the big appeal at SuperDraft, not only are they the future of DFS, how they're approaching it, the multiplier format. You pick any player you want in the league and put them together to make your dream team lineup. They're also giving you $20 free if you sign up right now with a deposit of $100 or more. So go right now to superdraft.io or download SuperDraft from the App Store. When you sign up, use the promo code AWESEMO to get your $20 free with that deposit of $100 or more. And again, extra half hour. If you've been watching these shows for the extra half hour, we're basically just giving you the top plays on a slate, seeing how they grade out with Josh's rankings, according to Awesemo's rankings, according to everything out there. So it's about as simple as we can make it. But check them out. Big tournaments coming up this week for them. But go sign up right now so then you can tend to all of your rest of your DFS lineups before we do the SuperDraft half hour at the back end of the show. All right, Josh, so we got some big news here. Giannis Antetokounmpo out, has a little baby boy, Liam Charles, and his girlfriend has an incredibly long name to go along with his as well. They are doing a hyphenated thing. He is out now. Going to open up Bledsoe, Chris Middleton, some of the other guys as well. We'll talk about that. But also, we got big news of Serge Ibaka out, which is going to open up Chris Boucher theoretically. So we're going to give more upside for Pascal Siakam and some of the other guys there. Which side do you think is more important for your lineups? Are you going to Boucher today, or are you just? I mean, to me, I think the Bucks guys are just lock plays. But how do you feel about that? Which one would you value more when you're building lineups right now?
Right now, I have a just absolute infinite amount of Boucher. He's in almost every single one of my DraftKings lineups. Having a hard time getting away from him. I'm actually updating my Middleton and Bledsoe projections right now because I think I'm mildly low. But if we're just comparing Ilyasova and Boucher, I prefer Boucher. That does not mean that I don't like Ilyasova, but I prefer Boucher. I actually have Boucher 3 fantasy points lower than Alex, and I'm getting him in 97% of my lineups. So I feel pretty comfortable in those scenarios.
Also, D'Angelo Russell officially in as well, so that'll change some things for that Minnesota team making his debut tonight. But Boucher, I guess the thing is if you assume that he's going to get the start, and even if you don't, I guess you give him any minutes. He's such a productive, permanent player that he doesn't. It's really hard to ignore him. So I agree there. Do you think he gets the start? And I guess preemptively preparing for the future, if he doesn't get the start, would that freak you out? Because I know that's something we've had to deal with a lot on Live Before Lock recently.
It would not freak me out because he plays regardless. So I wouldn't be like really, really happy to have 97% of him if he didn't start, but I'm still going to probably have 97% of him in that scenario. I just think he's going to have to play enough minutes. I just don't know what else they would do. This doesn't strike me as a spot where they're going to go with like Siakam at the 5 for 24 minutes or something like that. I think that he's probably just going to play, 24-ish minutes, something in that neighborhood, and just soak it in.
Yeah, I'm with you. It's a pace-up spot. A Minnesota team who already defensively wasn't that great, but certainly going to be getting weaker as they feel themselves out. Just getting D'Angelo Russell in the mix alone is going to make that defense weaker, but just guys who need to figure out their roles a bit more. I'm with you on Boucher. Osmo's Boucher projected extremely well. The ownership, I'm sure, will come up throughout the hour. He's already one of the chalkiest players on the slate. One of those other guys we talk about a lot. People have been dying to play Chris Boucher whenever there's been an opportunity. And this is really one time where the opportunity seems about as strong as you can get because they just don't have Gasol. They don't have Ibaka. Somebody has to play minutes against a pretty big Minnesota team, at least in terms of Karl-Anthony Towns. So, it seems like the safest Boucher chalk spot we've had, but the one where he is going to be obscenely chalky. I guess, does this affect Victor Oladipo for you, who's still particularly chalky on DraftKings? He is a cheaper play there. Been seeing the minutes. Was going to be the chalk play of the day, it looked like. On FanDuel, not as much of an issue with him, but on DraftKings, are you cutting your Oladipo exposure or are you putting him with these guys?
I mean, I certainly have less Oladipo now than I did previously, but that's not really. It's just because there's more value. He still looks good. If you're asking me like best plays, it's Boucher at the top. I'd say Oladipo is probably third. I would put him slightly behind Ilyasova. But I think all the ownership is fine. On the last run that I did on DraftKings, I had 34% Victor Oladipo. We were projecting 33.7. So I'm kind of just with the field now.
Also, shout out to a couple super chats here. We got one from our boy Eddie Fear asking whole roasted bat or ketchup and eggs. Josh, do you have a lean there given your distaste for ketchup and eggs?
Yeah, I would rather eat the bat in that scenario.
I would also be curious about the bat in general, but on a confidence level, I'd probably be more inclined for ketchup and eggs. And shout out Fast Eddie, who will be back this week. Obviously Monday. Monday is our time to shine here and talk about the luxurious nature of SuperDraft is what we try to do here on Mondays.
Certainly is.
Another super chat from Robert Holman as well. Given all the great power forward options and value on FanDuel specifically, would you set an at most one out of RHJ and Boucher, or would you be fine playing them together? Josh, you're playing FanDuel a lot. I mean, I'm sure you're playing both sides today, but RHJ and Boucher, would you want to split them up in groups if you were crunching today?
Only if you ran a crunch and got a lot of both of them. Like, if you got 40% Boucher or 60% Boucher and 30% RHJ, then I would want to find out how many I had together. But I don't expect to get all that much RHJ. So if I just check right now, I have Boucher in, 70% of my FanDuel lineups. So 106. I have RHJ in 7 of those. That's fine by me. If that number was 27, then I would probably want to run like 2 separate crunches and merge them together. But I don't see the need to like go out of your way to worry about it. It's not the best scenario in the world for sure, but at $8,000 combined on FanDuel, I don't have like the biggest problem with it. You're probably just better off going to Ilyasova in that scenario, but for one of those two guys. But it's not like the worst idea in the world. They still have to play 40. Somebody has to play 48 minutes of center.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. Also got a question here in the premium Slack for SuperDraft, kind of trying to close the loop on all the various Boucher angles. We'll talk about him. Obviously, if we do get the starting lineup and it comes in that he is getting that start, we'll let you guys know as soon as we can. Also, Amari Spellman ruled out. That doesn't really change too much, but just got that alert coming through. Let's see. Where'd the question go? Damn it. Shelton Myers asking, is Boucher a lock on SuperDraft? He's skeptical. He does project to be Osmo's number 3 overall player on the slate. 2 other guys we talked about getting the boost with Giannis out. Chris Middleton and Eric Bledsoe look like the overall top 2 plays on SuperDraft. And SuperDraft projections also are free today, by the way. So I'll drop that in the YouTube chat in a second here. But do you feel like Boucher would be a lock on SuperDraft? He's got a pretty good multiplier on there. It looks like he's at 1.8x. And with Osmo's projection, it does seem like he'd be one of the top 5 plays.
Right now, I have Boucher 4th. For me, it's going Middleton by a large amount. Bledsoe, Bam Adebayo, and then Boucher.
Okay. Oh, Bam Adebayo. Interesting.
I'm very heavy on Bam Adebayo today.
Okay. Fair enough. So we'll talk more about SuperDraft stuff as we go, but Boucher does look like one of the top plays on SuperDraft. Again, a 1.8x multiplier, pretty strong one for him, one that definitely assumes that he wouldn't be getting either a start or a big amount of run today. So he does look like a pretty strong value overall. Let's see. A question from Double AP12 in the premium Slack. Do you have any? Also, I'm seeing you still tagged as Dr. Josh on here, which is just, I know it's an inside Slack joke, but just silly. Just worth getting in, as the deeper dive guys mentioned, as Ben and Lofty pointed out, worth getting it on the premium Slack. Very entertaining stuff. Sometimes vaguely depressing things, but still a lot of drama going on in our little community. So go check them out. Also good information, good interaction with people there talking about their picks across a variety of sports. So use that promo code live before lock for half off your first week at osmo.com/join. Double AP asking, any worries about Ersan's minutes at all? He only got 21 minutes last time Giannis was out. That was also the game where Bledsoe and Middleton went absolutely bananas. But do you have any worries about Ilyasova's minutes? Because I don't as much.
No, I mean, worries in what way?
Just that he gets less run. But I mean, I think in games that are competitive or games where Bledsoe and Middleton don't go like 60 fantasy points plus nuts each, I think Ilyasova is fine in those spots. But if those guys are going to go completely insane again, I think Ilyasova probably loses some appeal and chance at run.
Like, I gave him 25 minutes. I'm not really stressed about it. He's priced low enough that I don't think it really matters.
Yeah, practically the minimum price on DraftKings.
Yeah.
Pretty cheap everywhere industry wide. So Ilyasova still looks like a strong play. Definitely I would say less secure than Bledsoe and Middleton overall, but still a guy who should be getting run, should get that opportunity, and he's right in the mix.
It would be a lot scarier if Marvin Williams were with the team yet.
That's a good point. The whole rotation there gets a little more crowded if Williams were in, but again,
they cut Dragan Bender, right? Like that's just another like potential body that's just not there.
Yeah, I would agree. A question here from Hobo Joe saying thoughts on Juancho, another guy, price point pivoted. Also, Juancho, as LO Cool Jeff points out in the premium Slack, his name is all over the place. He's now Juan on a lot of sites. I'm still mentally going Juancho, but I'd prefer if he just went by Juan everywhere. But a play there had his minutes shortened by some foul trouble last game, but still played 27 minutes, still had decent fantasy value. Is Juancho still in your player pools, or has he been completely usurped by the Ilyasovas of the world?
I don't have any Juancho Hernan-Gomez right now.
Okay. Yeah, I don't mind Juancho, and I do think, he came in for that last stint that he had and really did start to put it up a little bit more after just kind of being very passive in the first 3 quarters. But he's less of a priority play. I do have some exposure. I do think he's worth just as a pivot to get away from some of the guys because I will have a lot of Ilyasova, a lot of Boucher. But only one position as well for Juancho on DraftKings, just a straight power forward. I think he's a little bit less of a priority. And with him, I'd also worry a little bit more about the opportunity cost of not putting in a Porzingis or a Siakam or one of those guys, just given the fact that they have a lot more upside than Juancho probably does in this current situation. See, got some other questions here. Let's go through the rest of the slate. And I guess, Is there anybody you're getting a lot more of now with all this value? We talked about the kind of trickle down for Oladipo. We talked about the Bucks guys. Obviously, you're going to want to pay up for them a pretty good amount with Bledsoe and Middleton in particular. But is there anybody who's either you've gotten more of or gotten less of as a result? Because for me, Christian Wood was a guy I started liking the day quite a bit. He's had big minutes recently, but Markieff Morris is going to be back in the lineup today. I think a bit of a concern there. And just his projections aren't quite as good value-wise as compared to the other guys. Are you getting a lot of Wood? Are you getting anybody else less than you expected because of these guys?
Let me take a peek. I was getting more Christian Wood earlier today than I am now. There's just so many power forwards, particularly on FanDuel, so it's kind of tricky. I haven't really taken much of a stand on anybody outside of Boucher. I'm under the field on Ersan Ilyasova, but that's neither here nor there. I've got a lot of Rudy Gobert. I'm well above Alex's projection too, which is giving me a little bit of pause, but I have him at, 43.3 divided by 34. I have him at 1.27 FanDuel points per minute. He's been a 1.31 guy lately, so I don't feel like I have him at some sort of outlandish number. I guess I'm okay with it. Got a decent amount of Vooch, but people are already there. I have way too much Jay Crowder. Still trying to rectify that scenario.
Yeah, do you feel confident about him getting that done again? Because he did play big minutes in that last game. Also, maybe got a little lucky with the steals and blocks in that game, but definitely got the run in the first start, or at least the first game in the lineup, rather.
I expect him to get that sort of run, but when push comes to shove, he's still Jay Crowder and should not be a guy that's in 40% of my lineups.
That is a lot of Jay Crowder, especially on a day like today, but certainly some Jay exposure does make sense. Again, really, he played mid 30 minutes, I believe, if I'm remembering that correctly.
I'm not sure Jay Crowder would want that much Jay Crowder.
Yeah, fair point. Crowder does look like a strong play if he's going to keep that role, keep that much opportunity, but hard to see him putting up mid 40s fantasy points every game. That's just not Jay Crowder's style. And, still a low usage guy. So I wouldn't get too overexcited about Jay, as it appears our friend Josh is. How about Russell back in the lineup? For Minnesota, obviously we've talked about the value kind of dissipating for some of these guys. Like Malik Beasley not going to have 30% usage with Russell out there. I think still not a terrible play, but not a guy I would find to be a priority. Similarly, Jordan McLaughlin, his price is up too. I would think he's completely out of play for me now. But Russell, is he in play, and how does he affect things for Minnesota? Were you getting any Minnesota guys before you knew that he'd be in?
I was not really getting anybody before. I'm pretty neutral on Russell as of right now. I just really don't have much Minnesota in general.
Yeah, not even Towns.
Surprised by it? Yeah, no, I don't really. Towns, I don't have on DraftKings, which is scary. And I only have 5% on FanDuel.
Interesting.
Yeah. It's not fun.
Yeah, Towns does seem like you could definitely get there a little more easily, and certainly going to be even weaker defense for him now with Ibaka out. He already had a pretty decent size advantage, and just going against Ibaka as it was without Gasol in the mix. But yeah, I mean, Towns not going to project too well on paper just because of the matchup against Toronto. Is still pretty competent defensively, but things definitely get a little weaker without both Ibaka and Gasol in the mix. So I would want some Towns. To confirm though, you wouldn't have any D'Angelo Russell in this spot either, right?
How much do I have here? I have him in 2 lineups on DraftKings, and I have like 10% on FanDuel.
Okay, yeah. I just don't know about his role. Like I don't feel the most confident. I also think for him, it's kind of a worse spot, but he's being priced like it's a better spot. He's not going to get the run of the castle like he had in Golden State. Guys like Beasley is going to want to shoot. I think McLaughlin certainly earned some minutes. I don't think he's going to be taking a lot directly from D'Angelo's mouth, a low usage guy, but I still think that these guys are going to need their opportunity. They clearly want to get Juancho some shots. Just to me, it's the exact opposite of Golden State, where they were like, hey, like go out there, D'Angelo, go do whatever you need to do. Now he's playing on an actual team who has other guys taking usage. I just don't think he's worth a lot at his current price point.
I don't think anybody's going to be taking any usage from D'Angelo Russell or from Karl Anthony Towns. I think they're going to be like the not good version of LeBron James and Anthony Davis. They're going to be everything for Minnesota, and everybody else is going to take a back seat.
I think Beasley's a guy they definitely are invested in too. Like I think that they want to re-sign him. They're probably going to be paying a decent premium to get him. I don't know. I think that Beasley is a more competent player than Russell played alongside for most of the year, just in terms of being able to take up shots. And that you saw in that first game, like he's dying for this chance to start shooting. I agree. Like those guys will be the clear usage leaders, but I think Beasley's like a 20% usage guy in this lineup, maybe 25. I mean, give or take.
I mean, those are two very different numbers. I see him as like, I don't know, playing next to Alec Burks. At worst, and likely less than that. I like he's there for a reason. He's Towns' boy. I don't see D'Angelo Russell's usage rate really changing at all.
Okay, fair enough. Either way, I still think the price is not great on D'Angelo. I think that's sort of my main thing for DraftKings. Like I would like him to be a little bit cheaper for the new team and the new situation, but that's my gut instinct there.
It's great on FanDuel. He's 7,300 on FanDuel. I think that's a fantastic price.
I would agree. All right. Anything else? Nothing else weird news-wise that's come out yet, right? Of course, in our shows. Also, Marvin Williams available officially, but unlikely to play. So there you go.
I didn't even know that he was signed.
Yeah, I think he was officially signed already. Hawks starting Young, Herter, Hunter, Collins, Jones. So here's a question I have for you. The Hawks, are you getting any of them right now? Because I think they're priced well, but I'm really reluctant to have much of these guys. I got some Trey. John Collins was my fade of the day in the strategy syllabus we have, which I believe is free today. Collins played 50 minutes yesterday in double overtime. Trey played 48. These guys in Atlanta played a lot against the Knicks yesterday because of that double overtime game. Now they're going into a pace down spot against an Orlando defense that's still pretty competent and does play slow. Would you have any Hawks today, or are you just mostly avoiding them, or just naturally not getting them anyway?
Yeah, I'm 2x the field on Trae Young and Collins right now.
Interesting. Why is that?
I think they're going to do the same thing again and play monster minutes. I don't think they really have much alternative. So I've got Trae Young in for 36. I've got John Collins in for 34. That could easily be low. I think they're just going to run these guys out into the ground. How much Kevin? I have 4 times the field of Kevin Herter on FanDuel, where he's 4,600. I'm actually getting to a lot of Atlanta, which I don't love against Orlando, but this is not the same Orlando team that had John Isaac on the floor.
I think that's fair. I just really would be reluctant to take a guy who played, a full regulation game's length of time plus some if you're Collins. I just think that's like I wouldn't say a trap spot, because I do have a little bit of Trey, and I agree that Trey seems like out of one of the two that I would take more exposure with. But Collins, that's a lot of minutes for a big man who's also had some knee issues, and then going against Orlando, who's not the same team, but Vooch is still competent inside. I would be okay with getting more of the field than Trey, but Collins is me just a straight avoid today. That's so many minutes for a big man, 50 minutes in a back-to-back.
I mean, he's not lumbering around like he's Oliver Miller, man. He's probably 6% body fat. The dude's yoked.
Oliver Miller was around. esoteric reference of them all, but a good one.
Like, I mean, John Collins is plenty fit to be able to do things on back-to-back days. This is a different time now. I'm not worried about it at all.
All right. I would not play Collins today personally, but that might be me being overly conservative as I'm known for. I'm known as the most conservative person here.
I also say this as someone that basically never gets John Collins.
Yeah, I mean, I always get John Collins, so that's probably part of it too, where I'm like, he's been on a good run. I mean, he's getting more opportunity. The minutes have been there, but I just don't like him after playing that much time and then going on the road too. It's not like they've been at home for both games either. They were at home yesterday, but not today. I don't know. That freaks me out a lot about John Collins. So I'd be less willing to go there, even if I got him. Let's see.
Yeah,
here.
actually, hold on one second, because someone just said this in chat, and I want to make sure. Yeah, so I do not have John Collins on DraftKings. I only have him on FanDuel at 2x the field. I just saw Justin in chat say Collins on FanDuel is super cheap. Don't like him on DK. Yeah, that is a very true statement.
So I guess a similar question for you, and we kind of talked about Christian Wood briefly, but I want to ask you about the Pistons because they're still a team who's coming together. It looks like so far the usage is really going to Wood and Reggie Jackson, as you would guess. But a guy who was going to be chalk earlier today, and it looks like not so much now, Bruce Brown was looking very popular on FanDuel earlier. A lot of value obviously opening up, going to change that. He's still projected for about 15% ownership, which is not too low relative to the rest of the slate on FanDuel. Are you getting any Bruce Brown, or is he a guy that you would want to avoid now that we have this other value?
I have 20% on DraftKings right now. He's a guy that I get pretty much permanently, and I hate it, but it doesn't seem to stop. So, yeah, I have a little bit. There's just so many minutes to go around on the Pistons that I can't not have at least a little bit of him.
Okay. Yeah, no, I think that's fair. And he is still playing the backup point guard minutes. It's weird, though. He really hasn't taken a boost in usage. And if anything, it seems like he's suffering more from having less guys to assist, or to help assist, rather, with Svi Mikhailiuk also out of the lineup. Brown, to me, would have been a guy I would have wanted to avoid, especially on DraftKings today. And I am doing that overall, but just wanted to talk about him because his situation has changed a bit.
Yeah.
We talked briefly about Wood. How are you getting him on FanDuel, where his price is much less appealing? And how are you getting him on DraftKings, where I think his price still works, but you definitely get lost a little bit into the abyss with all the value at the same positions he has?
So Wood is my third most exposed guy on DraftKings as of right now, but I'm about to run a new crunch, so we'll see where that ends up. On FanDuel, I only have like 16%. 8,100 is pretty healthy, but 72 on DK is what I think a fantastic price for him. He was in my top 10 earlier today, and he seems to be sticking around in that area. So I'll probably be somewhere in the 2x the field range on Christian Wood right now.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, Wood's still very much a strong play. I think if anything, now he's kind of got some contrarian-ish appeal. The ownership's coming down from our most recent run of ownership. He's down under 20%.
Nice.
So, I think that looks pretty strong against a Charlotte team who's going to be able to get him into position. Not good versus centers, and Wood has been getting 35 minutes a game. Might lose a little bit, take a little bit of a haircut with Morris back in the lineup, but I would think not enough. Even if he's low 30s, he's still going to project really well.
Yeah, I'm going under the assumption that Thon is going to take the biggest haircut, and I hope that I'm right.
Yeah, I think that seems like a fair ask, I think. And Wood, they really seem like they want to give him the minutes. They did refuse the trade offer for him at the deadline, or close to the deadline, from the Celtics, and apparently have the intentions to re-sign him. So it seems like he's going to get a shot to keep doing what he's been doing. He's looked good so far. Rates in line with where he was with Drummond off the court before. Rebound usage, again, one of the top usage guys right behind Reggie Jackson. Are you getting any Reggie Jackson today? Because he still intrigues me, and I always tend to get a little more Reggie than the field.
Yeah.
For positive regression on his shot. The price is still there. Usage has been there about 30%. Is he landing at all for you or no?
Oh, he's landing. I have, or had at least, 24% on DraftKings, and I had 43% on FanDuel. 5,900 on FanDuel. He is my most exposed point guard as of right now.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
So I like him a lot.
Reggie season has returned. And also, I'd love to know what the Celtics offered for him on the deadline, because the Pistons are crazy for not taking anything. So it must have been a pretty crappy second round pick.
Yeah, I would assume it was, given that's how the Celtics, that's how Trader Danny likes to do business there. But I don't know. Like I think Wood's a really strong play again today. I think Reggie's also a very strong play. The pace for Charlotte does suck, and I'm not inclined to get a ton of Pistons because of that. But I do think Wood and Jackson are just guys. The roles are much better for both of them. Yeah. And Jackson, me too. Like, he just hasn't had that breakout game yet, so he's not on people's radars. But he's been shooting. He's playing Charlotte, who decent guard defense on the year, but still, like, the amount of usage that Reggie gets, I think he's a very strong play today with some upside. Anybody on Charlotte's side at all for you? We got a question about PJ Washington on FanDuel from Brian earlier. I did get some PJ on DraftKings, and I do think that he's been getting enough run to pop up for me. Less of a priority with all the other value at power forward on DraftKings now, but getting any Hornets at all for you in this very slow-paced game with also a low combined total, 205.5 implied points for both teams.
Minimal amounts of like Scary Terry and Malik Monk. I don't have anybody with any sort of volume.
We just want to real fast talk about Devontae Graham, just because I thought last game's box score was sort of informative. He's been down for the last month or so. And last game was the first time he really had minutes staggered away from Malik Monk and Terry Rozier. And conveniently, he went off in that spot because they were trailing. But they basically just let him get the run of everything. I'm inclined to not play Graham right now in games because they're not showing a willingness to stagger him a lot. And I love Graham. I just think that the minutes that he's sharing with both Monk and Rozier, getting no time to himself, has been bad. I think that was the best example of it last game that they had, I think, against Dallas. Just he did what he had to do. He's got some more threes up, got some more looks, got some more assists. I think he's in play when one of these guys is out. But right now, the way the rotations are, I'm not getting him personally.
Same.
Yeah, just wanted to touch on him because I feel like he's a guy I was really loving him in the beginning of the year, and he's not the same player right now because of how the rotations are going.
He is not the same player at all.
Got a question here from Sebi G, which is a question a lot of people will be asking on DraftKings. Porzingis or Siakam for DK GPP. Which way would you lean? Because I'm actually trying to get both into lineups because I think people will choose either one or, and I think there's a lot of ways to get to both now. But which would you choose if you had to for a DraftKings tournament?
Pretty aggressively Siakam. I don't have a ton of Porzingis today.
Do you feel good about not having a ton of Porzingis today?
I mean, I don't feel good about ever having not a lot of like anybody that's good. Like, I don't have a lot of Anthony Davis. That doesn't feel good. I don't have Karl Anthony Towns. That doesn't feel good. It's never good when guys get a little bit of ownership and they're actually like talented basketball players and you don't have them. So no, but like I have 8% and that's good enough for me if that's where the field is.
Yeah, for me, we talked about it on Friday's show, but I was very heavy on Porzingis there. That ended up not working out, but it was just because of foul trouble. He was still very productive per minute, still looked good. Just got some really bad, to me, ticky-tacky fouls. I think it's a couple of them in particular, where he just got shoved into Bradley Beal and like fouled Beal in that process in one play. I would really be willing to target him again because people are just off them. His price is now cheaper than it was on Friday. Certainly a worse spot on paper, but for tournament upside, I think Porzingis is still right there. And he was putting up those 50, 56 plus fantasy point days before that down game he had. Like, he still did it 3 games in a row. Yeah. Usage is there for him. And I don't think Utah is as bad of a matchup for a guy like him who could stretch him out and do some different things.
I have 70% Boucher on FanDuel right now. That'll work.
Are you comfortable with that?
I mean, I wouldn't be mad if it were more, if that's the question.
Interesting.
I don't hate it at all. I mean, it's going to be 97% on DraftKings or something, I'm guessing.
Nets lineup also out. Dinwiddie, LeVert, Harris, Prince, Allen. I'm actually curious your thoughts on the Nets because LeVert's been looking really good since Kyrie went back out. Usage has been there. Dinwiddie also talked to the media after that last game where LeVert had a great day against Toronto, which gives me a little bit of hope for LeVert today in a similarly tough matchup. And he was saying that basically LeVert's got the green light, so that's why you're seeing the results you're seeing. I like LeVert again, and his price is up, so people will be completely off of him. But he's been looking reinvigorated with Kyrie out. Is he somebody in your player pool or any of the Nets in your player pool at all and coming up at a decent volume?
So on FanDuel, I've got 17% LeVert. That's north of the field. On DraftKings, as far as I'm concerned, he is unplayable. He shouldn't be in lineups.
Really? Okay, so you're not buying in on his role being worth the price jump.
No, he should not be 7K as a 0.98 fantasy point per minute guy.
Okay. I don't mind a little bit of them there just because I think, some players, when they get the runway to succeed, they do perform a little better. I agree on the year. He's been mostly disappointing, but I think that's what happens when you have guys whose minutes get yanked around a bit or as much as his have been. So I'm willing to take some stabs at LeVert at his price point because the upside's been there. And I think if you can put up a monster day against Toronto with really good efficiency, I think you'd certainly do it again today at another comparably tough spot against Indiana. Let's see. Any good questions here? got some either ors. I guess let's go through the rest of the slate. Is there anybody else that's popping up for you in a noteworthy way relative to the field? And I guess we should also probably talk more about Milwaukee, because I'm curious if any of these guys, you mentioned it earlier on, but anybody you're not getting enough of that you wish you were getting more of on Milwaukee in particular?
I don't have a lot of Ersan Ilyasova on FanDuel, that's for sure. Let's see. I mean, Reggie Jackson is probably like the biggest name on FanDuel that I've got quite a bit of. I'm pretty heavy on Bam. We've got Anthony Davis at 33% on FanDuel. I only have 7. I've gone to significantly more LeBron. A lot of that just has to do with paying down for Boucher, RHJ, and even to a lesser extent Ilyasova. So looks like people are pairing one of those pay down guys with AD, and right now that's not really what I'm doing.
Yeah, AD, I mean, has been there the last 2 games, though playing. I guess it depends on if Ayton's in tonight or not, because if Ayton's out, I mean, Ayton's not a great defender by any stretch, but at least he's a big body. The last 2 big games for AD have been where really there isn't a center of note with any size going against him. I think if he gets that same spot against Phoenix, he's certainly appealing. I don't mind him either way, but I think for me, like, I would want more AD if Ayton were out for sure. Yeah. But I think if we don't know Ayton's status, I feel like it's hard to justify loading up on AD over LeBron.
Yeah, I mean, if we got that sort of news in the next 24 minutes, all hell would break loose, because Czech Diallo would become just an absolutely ridiculous play.
Yeah. I assume you're planning things as though Ayton is going to be in, right? Because for FanDuel in particular.
Yeah. Correct.
Yeah. One guy on DraftKings, though, I am getting now, just because of the money to go around, and I do think he's a little undervalued in terms of ownership, is Devin Booker. If anybody's going to shoot them into this game against the Lakers, regardless of the defensive situations, I do think Booker's that guy. To me, Oubre looks a little bit overpriced. Ayton as well, even if he's in, going to be pretty overpriced for me as well. But Booker's price is kind of in that sweet spot. Are you getting anything of him or Ricky Rubio, a popular play recently who seems to not have the upside, obviously, for all the reasons we talked about in many of these shows?
20% Booker on DK right now, only 6% Ricky Rubio. 17% Kelly Oubre on DraftKings, but even more important, 50% on FanDuel. Love Kelly Oubre today. Love Kelly Oubre every day at this point.
He's been good. He's getting a lot of minutes too, which obviously is as good as gold in DFS for the most part when you're as productive as Oubre's been.
Yeah, I'm a big Kelly Oubre guy right now. I've been playing him a ton as of late.
Yeah, I think too. I wouldn't be reluctant to play him with Booker, but I do think he gains more appeal in lineups that don't have Booker, because I think if Booker fails, that means it's probably because the Lakers are really selling out to cover him, and that's going to open up more room for Oubre to do his thing.
Well, I hope he goes crazy then.
Very possible, though. I definitely have more Booker on DraftKings than I do Oubre. Yeah. Jimmy Butler, questionable again. And obviously on FanDuel, you're going to have to make this choice without knowing for sure whether he's in, most likely. We've not gotten that news yet. Rashawn Holmes out 2 more games, so it doesn't matter. How are you handling the Butler situation on FanDuel, where we've seen both Kendrick Nunn and Dragic have the big days recently? Nunn seems like he gets the first crack, and then if Nunn fails, it's more likely that Dragic succeeds. But how are you feeling about Miami, and how are you preparing for a questionable Jimmy Butler, given that the game is pretty late because they are playing on the West Coast?
I'm mostly just playing a bundle of Bam Adebayo and nothing really else. Well, and Jay Crowder, 2 things that I don't think matter all that much if Jimmy Butler plays. But I am projecting Jimmy Butler to not play today. And I only have Bam and Dragic in my DK player pool. I only have those 2 plus none on FanDuel. Why in the world is Jay Crowder not showing up here now?
Jay Crowder, real playing hard to get with you. A little too much, not enough.
I think I just pasted projections into ownership and vice versa, and it jacked everything up. But ultimately, Jay Crowder and Bam Adebayo are the 2 guys that I have my actual eye on. Dragic is in the player pool, but I don't expect to have him with any sort of volume.
We also just got an ownership update a couple of minutes ago. Thanks to our guy Makad for pointing that out. So again, if you want to get that for yourself, ownership is going to be very important. And we talk about some of the main guys here. We don't mind giving you guys that for free. If you want to see everything for yourself, a great way to help build lineups or to sort lineups that you have, make sure to go to osmo.com/join and use that promo code live before lock for half off your first week on there. Man, Boucher is going to, oh boy.
I have 100% right now.
So there's no level where you would get away from him now, or you're in fully on the Boucher experience?
I have 100% right now.
Okay. On FanDuel?
No, on DraftKings.
Okay. What about FanDuel?
69 actually. Which
Nice.
is, to me,
I
nice.
hear that's a very nice number.
Yeah, I'm not mad about it.
Let's see. Oh, apparently Jimmy Butler's been upgraded for tonight versus the Warriors, according to Ira Winderman. So he expects him to play. Not concrete news, but
What does he mean he's
still
been
some sort of
upgraded?
news. I mean, he was questionable in the injury report, the last injury report, so maybe closer to probable, somewhere between probable and questionable, I guess.
Oh, Ira, I'd prefer you didn't do that.
Ira making it difficult on our boy Josh. what a selfish jerk that Ira is. All right.
All right. So, what do I want to do with that information?
I feel like if you were playing Bam, it doesn't matter because he's still fine regardless. He just gets a little more if Jimmy's out.
Yeah, I don't think that I'm going to even make a move to make the change right now.
Yeah, like I got a little bit of Dragic and a little bit of Nunn that I'll probably swap out at some point, but even if I didn't, I don't really hate that conceptually.
Yeah, well, I mean, the problem is Jimmy Butler should absolutely destroy the Golden State Warriors.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to treat it like I don't care right now, and we'll see what I need to do on a late swap for DK in a bit.
It also kind of seems like one of those passive Jimmy spots where they're probably favored. I mean, if Golden State keeps it competitive, then I think that becomes different. But him returns to the lineup, I feel like playing a team I think he would expect to win fairly easily. I don't know that you would get full high exertion Jimmy Butler, so I personally wouldn't change a ton to make sure to get him in. But that's my gut lean with knowing Jimmy Butler games as best I can.
I can tell you this: the money line has not really moved over the past couple hours. So there's that. Keep an eye on it.
Brian Peel asking, is 100% Juancho a bad idea on FanDuel? Is there any other good small forward value? I would say 100% Juancho is not a great idea on any site.
I don't have any.
Yeah, so he's really
not in my player pool.
Okay. Who do you find to be the best value at small forward on FanDuel then?
I mean, anybody other than Juancho at this point. Jay Crowder, I don't know. OG Anunoby. I probably just wouldn't pay down at small forward. Dorian Finney-Smith, I don't know.
I don't mind Juancho, I think, as much as you do. Well, relative to DraftKings at least, but 100% Juancho just seems foolish, especially with Russell coming into the lineup. Like, it's not like there's a ton to go around for him. He's getting the minutes, which is good, but I just wouldn't have 100%.
I mean, we got to remember that he is not a good offensive player. He's a 0.7 fantasy point per minute guy. He's not going to shoot. He's just kind of going to exist. It's fine. He might be the starting four and play a ton of minutes, but yeah, if you have 100%, I mean, if you're playing one lineup, that's 100%. If you're playing 150, I'd go back to the drawing board.
Yeah, Juancho due for some positive regression, which I think is a positive. He's shooting 29% from deep, 36% from the floor. So that's going to come up, I think, throughout his Minnesota campaign in the back half of the year. But yeah, no, 100% Juancho would not be my move, Brian. So that's
even if you typed that wrong and said 10, I'd be like, oh, that feels like too much.
I don't mind 10% Juancho by any stretch. The minutes are going to be there for him. I think that's a positive. But and it's a different team too. Like, I think in some respects, you can kind of throw out the fantasy point per minute for him, just because Denver is a much different situation, a much more crowded situation. But I still think he's not the most productive guy. He's not going to suddenly be like a 1.2 fantasy point per minute guy.
He's going to keep being a 0.7 guy.
He'll get closer to 8. I think there's going to be a lot of room for him to get some looks. He just has to hit some of them better than he has so far. Let's see. Wiggins versus Butler, beef narrative from our boy Rinpack, who's been making money hand over fist. So maybe he's right here. You had any for the Wiggins Butler beef? Do you have any Wiggins at all, actually?
I don't have a single clue. I had one lineup on FanDuel. I don't know what his price is on DraftKings, but let's find out. And one lineup on DraftKings. So yes, I do have some Wiggins.
Okay.
Some meaning one of 150 on two separate sites.
I think Wiggins is going to have a nice run here. Like, I do think Golden State and just their coaching and their system made D'Angelo Russell a better player by the end of a stretch than he was probably for most of last year, even though I didn't think he was that bad last year. I know we've talked enough about that, but like I do think Wiggins is going to have some decent days, but against Miami, I don't know with Draymond Green also back in there today. Like, I think things get a little bit tighter for him. Not that Draymond's a high usage guy, but I just don't see this being the spot where I'm dying to get to Wiggins necessarily. Let's see. Keegster asking Fox and Vooch or Booker and Porzingis with no site given.
Fox, the first two for me. Fox and Vooch. I think those are like if I'm ranking all four of those guys, I think those guys are a 1 and 2.
Okay, that's fair. I have Fox, and I know he projects well for Osmo, so I do tend to default to that. I just like that Kings team. Things just flow around weirdly every game. And last time he played Milwaukee, he did go nuts, but that was a game without Bogdan, definitely without Bogdan in the starting lineup. I just like this kind of a game where Bogdan's style of just kind of being willing to chuck it up is going to benefit more. So I would go Booker and Porzingis, but I don't really like. I have a lot of all four guys, so I don't really have a strong lean.
I'm wildly low on Karl Anthony Towns compared to the boss.
That's not the best place to be. Not the best feeling, but
wow. When did 646 happen?
Time flies when you're having fun, and it also flies when you're presented by SuperDraft, which of course we are going that extra half hour today, talking exclusively SuperDraft. Their slate starts at 7:30 p.m. West Coast time, so go check them out right now. If you're prepared for all the chaos that's happened during the main slate, you'll be good to go for SuperDraft as well. So go tune in for us then, and right now sign up at superdraft.io. Use the promo code OSMO to get yourself $20 free with your deposit of $100 or more, and we'll talk more about SuperDraft in 13 minutes and just basically give you some lineups to go with and all of the best plays. Let's see here. Checking the YouTube chat for any good questions here. We appreciate you guys on YouTube, by the way. Glad to have you all back in here. So hit that like button. Of course, it helps us out quite a bit. If you're not subscribed to the channel, make sure you're doing that as well. And for future reference, if you don't see any videos coming out from us at all and there are sports in season, decent chance we're available on Twitch. So make sure you're on there as well. You're aware of that. Can be annoying because we don't have the best mechanisms to get you guys that news. But when we are on YouTube, we have a ton of content going up. So subscribe, hit that notification bell so you'll know whenever we go live, whenever we have any of the content, which there is a bevy of these days. Let's see here. Got another question from the Slack. Would you play Boucher? Oh, we got this one already, but I guess we might as well hit it again. Would you play Boucher and Hollis Jefferson in the same lineup?
I wouldn't go out of my way to do it. I would try to not do it, but I don't have like the biggest problem in the world with it given their prices. There's still 48 minutes to go around. I would be trying actively to not do that. But if that's where you end up, then that's where you end up.
Let's see here. DA24 asking, and I don't mind that either, though I'm getting much less RHJ than Boucher for whatever that's worth. But I'd be more inclined to treat RHJ like a pivot to Boucher in some lineups.
Yes.
Where if I duplicate him, put an RHJ instead. But that would be my approach if you're doing multiples. DA24 asking for a DK GPP, 100% lock on LeBron tonight, a bad play. He's trying to get contrarian and fade some of the Bucks chalk tonight. I don't think it's a bad play, but I don't know if it's the highest ceiling play to go 100% LeBron. But how do you feel about that for DraftKings, Josh?
I mean, I wouldn't do it. If you're locking someone and his name is LeBron James, like I can only be so mad at it. I don't see the need to do that. I don't know what you're gaining from doing it.
I would agree.
Although I don't know, did Rinpack ask that question? Because it just won him $100,000. So what do I know?
No, that was DA24, who, as far as I know, has not been making a killing at the old DFS casino lately. But no, still, I just think it's a lot of a guy. Better to spread that ownership around, get some AD, get some Trey. I would just not treat it that way. If you want to lock in that salary point, I think that's a lot. I mean, not even logical, but that's an okay thing to do.
I'd be more likely to make like a group of 3 dudes and say like at least one or something.
Yeah, I agree with that. Pedrito PR asking Herter or Brown on FanDuel. Which way would you lean?
I need you to say those names again.
Kevin Herter or Bruce Brown on FanDuel.
Ooh, that's an interesting question. I had more Bruce Brown on my last run, so Bruce Brown.
Okay. Let's see. Thoughts on Bielitsa from Strickstein71. I liked him more earlier today because I do think he's the type of player who does tend to earn more minutes against Milwaukee, an unashamed 3-point shooter, though they're going to defend him as much as they can because he shoots 45% from the floor from deep. So he's going to, they know he can shoot. So he's not the guy they give unencumbered looks to, but I don't mind Bielitsa ever in the tournament, really, as long as the guys that are out right now stay out. Do you have any Bielitsa at all?
Not really, no. Not a guy I get to all that often.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's whenever I land on him, I'm never mad about it because I do think he's a strong player in general, and he does have tournament upside on any given night. But not a guy I'd go out of my way for. 8% ownership for him right now, projected on DraftKings. That feels about right. If I got to 15, I wouldn't be mad, but not much more than that.
Russell, Beasley, Okogie, Hernan Gomez, Towns.
Minnesota's got some ability to be better than they have been. I'm intrigued by them now.
Do they? I think they got worse coming out of the deadline.
I think you're not as big on Beasley as I am. I think Beasley's kind of a sleeping giant of a player in terms of he's good defensively. He can shoot. He is unafraid to take big shots. I feel like he's the kind of the perfect third guy for him, even though talent wise, you'd probably want somebody who's a little better.
Do you think he's good enough to make up for the drop from D'Angelo Russell from Robert Covington to D'Angelo Russell? Because they're probably
the defense is going to be worse. but I mean, fantasy wise though, I do think they can now put up big numbers once they kind of come together and congeal a little better. Having Okogie out there is a decent defender. I think that, and not a high usage guy. I think lineup makes more sense to me than it did before. But
yeah, I mean, when they're going to be giving up 140 a game defensively, they're going to have plenty of time to come back down and score offensively. So yeah, I love it for them from a fantasy perspective. Absolutely.
I think McLaughlin's not a bad backup point guard. He's a good assist guy. He should have been getting more run, I think, for parts of the year, but they had Napier and Teague in there. I think it's good for them. They're going to lose a lot. They're probably going to lose at least the same amount as before, maybe a little bit more. And but at least they can kind of grow together at the same pace. I think that was the right move for them. You have guys in the same.
At least McLaughlin's going to now get no run again. So
he'll get some of that backup point guard minutes. He'll be there. He'll
get those 14 minutes.
Yeah, I'll be getting 15 a game, and it'll be productive, and we'll see. But I'm actually kind of bummed I didn't play this weekend slate for Minnesota because I was doing the XFL stuff. But I would have absolutely had McLaughlin and Beasley in that spot, and of course they went absolutely bananas with nobody else there to hold them back. Let's see, AD or Jokic for a DK GPP. I honestly don't have any Jokic today, so I would go AD. But
Jokic is my most exposed pay up guy, so I will go Jokic.
Interesting. Okay, so you're getting Jokic over Towns then?
Yes.
Okay. Man, I'm not there. It does make sense against. Yeah, I just didn't get any Jokic. I don't know. Actually, don't know why. I think Murray being back in is why I didn't get Jokic.
Reasonable.
Yeah,
he's been playing so well as of late. I'm afraid to not have him.
So I guess same question then on FanDuel. Do you feel like Sabonis is being underlooked or overlooked? He asked underlooked, but the question is overlooked.
Wait, Sabonis?
Yes. So I guess we're just talking white big men, but is Sabonis being overlooked?
Oh, I have essentially the exact same amount as the field, so no.
Yeah. Also, Brian, underlooked, not a phrase. I don't think that really confused me about who we were talking about once they said underlooked. DiVincenzo or Oladipo for DK? I would go Oladipo now that we know Oladipo is going to be less chalky. But DiVincenzo is a guy I have a good amount of, so I don't really have a lean here.
I would go with Victor Oladipo. I'm not entirely sure I have DiVincenzo.
I have more Oladipo, but I do have some DiVincenzo because I think he's a good pivot to Oladipo's price point. So I get the question, Miguel Ra.
98.7% Boucher now. So usually when I say those types of things on the show, that person goes for 6 fantasy points. So yay!
So tread lightly with your Boucher today, though. He just on paper he looks too strong of a play. I think you're not wrong about that. Man, all right. I got to figure out how this last spot's going to. Reggie and Siakam or Fox and Oubre for a FanDuel single entry?
Reggie and Siakam.
So it's all guys you like, I think. So that's tough.
Yeah. Reggie and Siakam. All right. So I'll just read these out loud. I have 39% Reggie. I have 47% Siakam. I have 15% Fox, and I have 68% Oubre. That is about as close to a coin flip as possible, but I would guess probably Reggie and Siakam is a more efficient combination.
Okay. Let's see. Ilyasova, Gordon, and Vooch, or Boucher, Bielitsa, and Vooch.
Pass.
That's don't put the same guy on both sides of the equation. Damn it. So Boucher and
I don't answer
Bielitsa.
3v3s. I'm not building your whole lineup.
No, but the 3v3 included Vooch on both sides. So Ilyasova and Gordon, or Boucher and Bielitsa on FanDuel.
The Boucher one.
I hate that. I don't know. Like, I didn't realize that was as big of a pet peeve as it was until I finished the question. But yeah, you don't have to ask a 3v3 if the same guy's on both sides, just for future reference.
Tedious Monday with a tedious question.
Oubre, didn't we just answer this one?
Probably.
Yeah, I think we literally just answered. Yeah. The fake Ryan, we literally just answered your question for a different player, for a different
Hollis
person.
Jefferson starting.
All right. Does that change anything for you?
I mean, I wish that I had more Hollis Jefferson. I already gave him 23 minutes and did not get to as much as I would like. I don't know. Chris Boucher's 3,400. I think that he still plays north of 20 minutes. So I have 16% RHJ on DraftKings. In a perfect world, I would, get a little bit more and a little bit less. I don't know how feasible that's going to be right now. If I nuke Chris Boucher's projection and boost Rondae Hollis Jefferson, it doesn't make all that much of a difference for me. So letting it ride.
Yeah, on a per minute basis, I mean, Boucher is going to project better. Not the most surprising thing in the world, which is why I did ask Josh earlier how he would feel if we knew Boucher wasn't starting. And yeah, I mean, you can't be surprised by it, but the assumption is he still has to get a good amount of run. There's a lot of minutes left behind with no Ibaka, no Gasol. So
anxious to see him against the second unit, I guess.
Yeah, not the best feeling in the world. You'd love to see him get that start, but yeah.
Also, maybe we get lucky. Rondae Hollis Jefferson picks up 2 quick fouls on Karl Anthony Towns, and we feel a little better. Or wait, not Towns, right? It's
no, it gets Towns.
Yeah, it is Towns. Yeah, even better.
Yeah, definitely possible. I certainly wouldn't all of a sudden load up on Hollis Jefferson, but it's still not not ideal for him not to go.
Yeah.
Also, Mike Conley ruled out Monday, so he's not playing on that back-to-back. Which Conley's been playing well, actually. I don't think I got to Conley because of all the value that opened up, but that actually is kind of interesting. That opens up a little more for Ingles, a little more for Mitchell.
I have him. Yeah, I have a lot of Mike Conley on FanDuel, which makes me nervous. I have a lot of Mike Conley on FanDuel that I need to swap immediately.
So yeah, you tend to that because that is an important one. But yeah,
57. I can go straight to Rubio.
Yeah. If you are playing Conley right now, definitely get him out there on FanDuel. And if you are still swapping around, you can, as Josh mentioned, Rubio's a similar price on DraftKings as well. And again, Ingles will get a little bit of a boost from that. He's been down recently because of Conley being back in that starting lineup. Mitchell as well, pretty much been points dependent without a little the upside that Conley takes away. So these guys would get better.
Conley's 5,500 on DraftKings, so I could swap to Bruce Brown, I guess. I have 19% Conley on DraftKings right now. That's hella annoying.
That is annoying. I liked Conley too. I just, because of everything else I didn't get there. But yeah, that's an annoying one. Is it possible for us to have one show where there isn't something annoying that occurs during the hour that affects our lineups? That'd be great.
It's even more annoying that I can't just swap all of my, I have to swap it in 3 individual places. Guard, point guard, and utility. It just doesn't mass do it on DraftKings because life is dumb.
Also, the Osmo Live blog been updated quite a bit over the last hour. So again, another premium feature. If you're not there yet, use that promo code Live Before Lock for half off your first week. But Osmo, I think, kind of sums it up. you're looking to pivot a bit, Rondae Hollis-Jefferson can make for a very intriguing play to be a bit contrarian from Boucher. Let's be clear, though, not taking Chris Boucher is a massive risk. Proceed with caution. So I think that's still the way I would view it as well. And succinctly put by the boss man. And we are locked. So let me pull up the big DK tournament and we'll see what we got in there. I will do a quick round of Daddy Likes. And then we are doing the Super Draft show for the next half hour. What?
No, I'm just excited.
Oh, are you for Daddy Likes or for the Super Draft show?
Oh, for Super Draft. I don't care at all about Daddy Likes.
The slander that you're bringing to Daddy Likes.
It is my least favorite thing that we do.
Really?
Yes.
I mean, now that we're not guessing them all, I feel like we guessed the first one. It's fine. I feel like that's the best version of the game.
The name is really, really uncomfortable to me. And not in a good way.
Well, oh boy. Oladipo is still 52%. Oh no.
I mean, probably should be.
Yeah, I guess. Jesus Christ.
Guys
been shooting terribly, though.
I had, or have, I guess, 45, so.
Well, I ruined the top guy already. So in the fadeaway right now on DK, top owned play is Victor Oladipo at 52%. I'm a little bit under it because of the other value, but I still have enough Oladipo where I feel like I'm kind of in no man's land. So I don't love that number, but how would you feel about 52% if you were playing Oladipo?
I mean, I would want the public to be a lot lower because I think it's a really good play. But he's my fourth most exposed guy, so I get it.
Yeah, that's a lot of Oladipo with the other value out there, but I still don't mind it. I would move some other directions and maybe get half that ownership if we knew it'd be that high, but such is life with all the moving pieces here. Number 2 on the list, Christian Wood at 26%. I got a bit less because of the other guys at the same positions that are value, but Wood at 26% feels about right to me. How does Uncle Chubbs feel about that?
I got 42.
Okay, that's a good amount of wood. It's a good amount of wood. Damn it. It's never a bad time to get some wood, but certainly enough. A good swath of wood seems appropriate given how he's good, and one of the best center matchups in the league across from him with Charlotte as well. Nikola Vucevic at 17%. I kind of thought he would come down a bit throughout that, but that ownership number feels about right to me. How do you feel about it?
I have 15, so that's pretty much spot on for me.
Trae Young 13. I'm also right around there. I think I got a little bit over 10 with him. Trae at 13. Any lean for you?
Yeah, I got 11.
Aaron Gordon also at 11. I got less than that, but he's fine. This matchup against the Hawks, I think if you're not playing Vooch in particular, maybe the way that Gordon gets there is stealing some rebounds from Vooch. So I don't mind that number, especially that Vooch is going to be 8% owned. Yeah. Gordon at 11%. You got a feel?
I got 13.
All right, so you're just right there. Reggie Jackson, this one I think we're both above. 10.4% for Reggie. I'm a little bit over double that. How do you feel about Reggie at 10.4?
Yeah, I got 25. That one I like a lot.
Yeah, I agree. Fournier, 9.4. I'm actually a little bit above that still, but mostly because I didn't swap all my lineups because of the news. So Fournier, I'm fine with it. He's a points-dependent guy going against Atlanta and a particularly exhausted Atlanta team. So I think that's a good number. How do you feel about Fournier at 9.4?
I have 6.
All right. So, yeah, it's in range. This one you probably won't like. Karis LeVert, 8.4. I think that's fair. I've got him at 7. LeVert, 8.4. Do you have a feel?
Oh, I have 0.
Okay, so yeah, you just weren't paying that price on DK today. I think he was worth some exposure at that price tag, and to me, 8 to 10 felt about right, so I don't mind that. Bruce Brown, I'll burn through the rest of these. Bruce Brown at 8, Malcolm Brogdon at 7, Terrence Ross at 6, Miles Turner 5.5, Dinwiddie down at 5, kind of interesting. PJ Washington at 4, John Collins, people not going there, 4%. Thon Maker or McCurr 4%. Terry Rozier under 4, Devontae Graham. Devontae Graham at 3%, kind of intriguing if maybe they learned something from that last game and try to stagger him a little bit more because the difference was really night and day for him, but 3% feels about right. TJ Warren at 3 as well. Miles Bridges are rounded up 3. DeAndre Hunter 2.7. DeMontis Sabonis 2.6. Would you have had any Sabonis at his price tag and that little ownership?
I had 0.
Okay. Yeah, I think there's always upside at Sabonis at that price point. If nobody's going to be there, he's certainly got some potential against Brooklyn. Dwayne Dedmon, 2.5. Markelle Fultz, 2.1. Kevin Huerter, 1.9. Taurean Prince, 1.5. Cody Zeller, 1.3. He's got to get closing minutes for him to get there, but kind of interesting. Joe Harris, 1. Malik Monk, 1. John Henson, 1. Jarrett Allen, a rounded up 1. Michael Carter-Williams, under 1. Markieff Morris, under 1. DeAndre Jordan, 0.74. Jeremy Lamb, 0.65. Langston Galloway, kind of interesting as a pivot to Brown, 0.45. Wes Iwundu, 0.43. Justin Holiday, 0.4. Jeff Teague, 0.4. Tony Snell, 0.3. Doug McDermott, 0.3. Wilson Chandler, Jesus Christ, there's so many guys in these games, 0.2. Cam Reddish, 0.2. TJ McConnell, 0.2. Damian Jones, 0.2. Aaron Holiday, 0.2. James Ennis, 0.2. Guillermo Hernan Gomez, but we call him Willie, 0.2. Garrett Temple, 0.2. Sekou Doumbouya, 0.1. Vince Carter, 0.08. Brandon Goodwin, 0.08. Timothy Luwawu Cabarro, 0.07. Dwayne Bacon, 0.05. Is he available? I think he is. Caleb Martin, 0.05. Kem Birch, 0.04. Mo Bamba, 0.04. Jesus, is anybody? Derrick Rose, 0.02%. What do those people do, Josh?
Annoyed me. They paid the rake.
They paid a very small portion of the rake at 0.02%. So there you go. That is the Daddy Likes game, America's favorite game, all of America besides the Chubster. Now we are on to the Super Draft portion of the show. So right now, if you haven't yet, go to superdraft.io or download the SuperDraft app in the app store of your choosing and use the promo code AWESEMO when you sign up for $20 free on your deposit of $100 or more. And today, the big tournament on SuperDraft, actually filling a little faster than usual, but it's got 4K up top. So good time for you to get in there right now.
Yeah.
You've got 23 and a half minutes to lock, and you should be jumping over to superdraft.io and getting in there. We did have overlay on the Thursday and Friday shows, but less today, probably. Earlier in the week, we do tend to find the tournament fills up faster. So go right now, superdraft.io. Don't wait for us to tell you, like, oh, there's still 500 entries left. This one's probably going to get pretty close to filling over the next 20 or so minutes. But get in there now. 4K up top in the jump shot, $12 entries on there. And I guess let's talk about the top Super Draft plays. And let's do it the way we did it last time, where let's see how you line up with Awesemo,
Sure.
because you guys had some discrepancies today, it seemed like. And we'll find out where those lay with Super Draft. Looks like the top play on Super Draft for Awesemo right now is Chris Middleton. 1.4x multiplier, has been an absolute monster without Giannis on the year. We didn't talk too much about these guys because you assume at this point you guys just know play Bucks when Giannis is out. Middleton, about a 1.5 fantasy point per minute guy when Giannis is on the floor. Good matchup against Sacramento. Middleton, to me, I would absolutely put him in my lineup today on Super Draft. How do you feel about him? Is he the number one for you?
Number one.
There you go. All right. Now, let's see. I hope one day we can get to all 10. I don't think we're going to get that, but let's see. All right. We got number 2 on the list, Eric Bledsoe, 1.55x multiplier on him. Number 2 overall in raw points. How are you feeling about Eric Bledsoe on SuperDraft? Is he your number 2?
Number 2. And speaking of SuperDraft, I did my office hours today about SuperDraft and a player's odds of being a top 10 scorer on SuperDraft. We ran a bunch of simulations for each slate and tried to get an idea of like how often a player at a certain projection would be in that range. That video is only available for people that are premium subs. We do have a playlist of my office hours in the past, and this one was fully SuperDraft from start to finish. So you guys should come check it out.
Yeah, I think your videos have been a really good insight. You've really done your job in trying to simplify it. SuperDraft seems simple, but there are some layers of depth to it. I mean, it's simple to make a lineup on there, but in terms of understanding how the field's going to look, how to look at things, and how to approach it in a smart way, we've talked about it a lot here. But Josh's videos, the office hour videos he does in general for the premium members, are really helpful. But the more time you invest in trying to figure out SuperDraft, the better off you'll be, because right now there's been overlay and a lot of soft tournaments out there. So go watch Josh's video right now. If you don't have a premium membership yet, use that promo code live before lock. SuperDraft projections are free today though, so I'll give you guys another shot at those in the chat. Let me just drop it in the YouTube chat. Where'd they go? Oh man, I gotta keep all these tabs open, but then I get even more lost. All right, there we go. I like you replying and denying that Chubbs is your nickname.
Because it's not.
That's been Josh's nickname since he was a toddler, and he had adorable little toddler legs that were so chubby, and his parents were like, let's call him the Chubster. So long that nickname's been around. It's weird that you're denying that now, Josh.
Never been my nickname at any point in time in my life, other than just from you.
Old Still Eagles just being a terribly unfunny person as always. Stop making the same jokes. They're never funny. Just talk about DFS. You're not a comedy guy. Relax.
Also true.
It's just like enough, man. It's all gay jokes and bestiality jokes, and it's not like none of those are fun. Like it's just gross. Let's keep talking super draft though, and not people who annoy me in chat, and not the way that you spell that. If you're ever on Wheel of Fortune either. Kristaps Porzingis, number 3 for Osmo in the super draft rankings today, 1.35x multiplier. How are you feeling about Kristaps? Is he your number 3? I have to assume not, based upon how you talked about him today.
Number 4.
Oh, all right. So he's in the hunt. Okay. Number 4 for Osmo is Pascal Siakam with a 1.35x multiplier, same as Porzingis, but slightly better projection for Osmo, literally fractionally better for Osmo with Porzingis and Siakam. So if you are building a lineup based off of this information, those two guys you could probably swap around a bit. But Siakam at number 4, is he there for you? Is he your number 3?
Number 5.
Oh, all right. So we missed number 3. This guy maybe was your number 3. Bam Adebayo, 1.4x multiplier. Is he your guy?
He is.
Okay.
I have I have the sim that I built pulled up on the screen now too, so we could take a look at that.
Oh, there you go. Let's see.
So I have the same 5 as Alex. Middleton, Bledsoe, Adebayo, Porzingis, Siakam. Okay.
Yep. So you have the same top 5, just in a different order. So the top 5, shared consensus top 5 with both Josh's projections and Osmo's. Middleton, Chris Middleton, Eric Bledsoe, Kristaps Porzingis, Pascal Siakam, Bam Adebayo. Positionally, can you play all those guys? Let me just double check that.
Yes.
I'm not sure.
Wait.
Okay.
So Porzingis is a center, Jokic is a center, Boucher and Towns are centers. Everybody else can just be played together.
So those guys are forwards. Yeah. So you can play that lineup right now. That can be your base. Again, on Super Draft, it is 3 guard positions, 3 forward positions, 1 center position, and you can play any of the guys there. The only restriction is the position eligibility, and those top 5 guys are all available for you at pretty available amounts. And pretty good multipliers as well. Number 6 on the list for Osmo, Anthony Davis, 1.1x. How are you feeling about that?
Not as high. He showed up 12th in my sim of guys that show up in the top 10 of Super Draft. So I would certainly be getting quite a bit of him. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of the guys ahead of him are centers. So in theory, like Anthony Davis is a bit higher in my actual rankings than he would be otherwise.
Okay. Yeah. So Anthony Davis looking good for Osmo. Maybe, not a great multiplier value on him, just a 1.1x. But if you think he keeps it going today, and especially, again, as I mentioned earlier, I think if Ayton does end up out, certainly going to be a better matchup for Anthony Davis going against Check Diallo or whoever. Or if they just decide to pull a center, it's all going to be better for Davis as it has been the last 2 games. Right behind AD, LeBron James, also a 1.1x multiplier. How are you feeling about him?
I have him a couple spots higher than that.
Okay. Yeah, I really can't ever complain about LeBron. I think there's certainly a 1x or 1.1x, doesn't jump off the page in Super Draft, but sometimes just taking a guy who's got the good raw points projection in a matchup against Phoenix that should be competitive, certainly a spot LeBron can pay off. Karl-Anthony Towns coming up behind these guys, another 1.1x for him. I know you ended up with less of him on the other side, so you think you'd have more of him on Super Draft today?
Yeah, so he's in between LeBron and AD, but I have him behind Gobert. Actually, I just ran 1,000 sim, so I can actually give an answer. I have Towns 9th overall, but he would be my 3rd center, so I probably wouldn't be getting like a lot of him. I have him behind Porzingis and Jokic.
Okay. Yeah, that looks good.
I had Bryn Forbes show up once in the top 1,000.
Does he have a 2x multiplier?
I would imagine.
Yeah, I would.
That's the only reason why.
Oh, okay, so there you go. 1 guy to 2x, though, I don't mind. Actually, 2 guys I wouldn't mind. Maybe 1 you would. Kai Bowman, 2x multiplier seems pretty fair for him. He is the starting point guard. Not a high usage guy, but he's going to get some assist upside and some shots to be useful. And Juancho, also right up there for Osmo in terms of the 2x multiplier guys. Any of these guys interesting to you at the 2x? Is Bowman interesting? Would you be more willing to play Juancho in this spot?
So Bowman is the highest ranked 2x guy that I have. He shows up as a top 10 scorer for the slate 11% of the time. Juancho 4% of the time. So I greatly prefer Bowman to Juancho in that scenario.
Yeah, I think that's fair. It does seem like a more secure opportunity for Bowman overall. Somebody has to play point guard there, though. Having Draymond in there going to cut into his opportunity a little bit. He did have double-digit assists in that last start without Draymond, but we'll see how it all goes for him. But in terms of 2X guys, though, those are two that I wouldn't mind taking a little dart throw at. Let's see here. Let's keep going through the Osmo list. He's got D'Angelo Russell right in the top 10 here. I'm still reluctant to go to Russell. I just don't. I know he's going to get the shot here, but it's a new offense, a new situation. I'm just less inclined to have him today, even with the 1.3x multiplier. But how are you feeling about Russell relative to your projections?
He's 20th for me. So,
Okay.
nothing crazy.
How about Brook Lopez? Osmo's got him right behind Russell and Towns here. 1.65x, actually 1.65. No, yeah, 1.65x multiplier for him. I don't mind it. Lopez to me just not the guy I go to whenever Giannis is out because he does benefit quite a bit from the assists that Giannis provides. But would you have Lopez close to your top or no?
He's 33rd, so I'm a little bit lower than that.
So, maybe one place to pivot there, though. Lopez, if you are playing some of the guys you mentioned in the top 5, Lopez probably would be a consideration anyway.
There's so many centers to me above him that it's really like with the ability of only playing one center, you really need to get that right. And for Lopez to outscore DeAndre Ayton if he plays, Marquise Chris, Gobert, Boucher, Towns, Jokic, Porzingis, like that's a tough stretch. So to me, like he would not be very playable on SuperDraft.
Okay. No, I think that does make sense. And certainly, you could say he lacks the upside of some of the other center guys that we've talked about. And, some of the players that even, we have less of today. I do think that Lopez, to me, one guy that I'd be willing to omit today. Jalen Brunson also popping up pretty well for Osmo. He still has a 1.9x multiplier on SuperDraft, so that's certainly a part of it. I'm just less inclined to go to Brunson on any of the sites when we know that he's going to have Porzingis in the mix. He's competing for so much with all the other guys to just get any looks at all. Would you have Brunson highly ranked or no?
Not really. No. Where the hell is he?
Yeah. He's high for Osmo.
Higher than I thought. Must have missed the name when I was scrolling. 19th.
Okay, so yeah, he's in the mix then for you. The multiplier is nice in terms of being a 1.9x guy. I just am a little bit less confident in him. I'd be less inclined to go there, but I get the logic why you would. And the 1.9x does look nice. He's the highest multiplier guy out of this early grouping of all of them.
Where does Alex have Donovan Mitchell?
He's got Mitchell. I don't have a number ranking here. He's got him a little bit further down, though. He's got him within the next 5 guys, but he's got him after Fox, Lowry, Jokic, Van Vliet, and Bielitsa.
Okay. He's 11th for me. Cool.
Is that adjusting for Conley being
2
out?
fouls for Christian Wood and 0 actual DFS stats. Plus 2 turnovers, so he's in the negative and is going to be in the negative for 20 minutes.
Yeah, so start your tilting. If you are like our premium Slack right now,
I mean, my day is over already.
You can get there and get mad about it. I mean, look, it's Wood. It's whatever. He'll do it. He'll get his minutes later on. He'll be fine.
Sure.
I'm not mad that I came off of him, though. That much I can say. And Karis LeVert incompetent so far in the first few minutes of that game. So keep going, Karis. Keep doing it. Let's see here. All right. Any other revelations you had, by the way, in that video? Obviously, we want people to watch the full office hours video, but was there anything noteworthy that you feel like is worth bringing to the people now with about 12 minutes left here before the SuperDraft slate locks?
No, it's mostly just getting an understanding of like what it takes to have a winning lineup and how often people can conceivably get to that sort of spot. It falls off a cliff pretty quickly. Of the entire player pool today, I have 33 guys that have greater or equal to a 10% chance of being a top 10 scorer for the slate. So you can really draw a line in the sand pretty quickly and, concentrate your exposures around like the top end of projections. There's no like dumpster diving. It's just not going to be beneficial, especially on a site that has so little additional information to the public. You're much better playing it like close to the vest.
Yeah, I think that's I think that makes sense. And I think it's obviously a different situation, but we kind of saw that with the XFL this week too, where, there's some people just playing the guys who had decent target projections, who had decently secure roles, ended up being how a lot of people finished well top tournaments there. And different sport, different situation. But I do think anytime there's sort of a new ground to break here, as there is on SuperDraft, it does make sense to take the guys who are going to be a little sturdier, a little more higher projected overall. And I think, the penchant would be to get cute, to go load up on 2X guys. But realistically, like, does 2X matter for Kai Bowman compared to, let's say, Chris Middleton in this spot or Bledsoe? Probably not so much. I think that's sort of as Josh mentioned, one thing to weigh here is just taking guys who are a little more secure, especially if you're just trying to cash on SuperDraft, especially.
Yeah.
Looks like we still have about 400 entries left in that big tournament in there. So get in there. You got 9 minutes left. Again, 4K up top and SuperDraft's jump shot. So go check them out. And to run through the plays again, as I mentioned, the SuperDraft projections are free. You can see them in the chat right now if you scroll up a little bit. The top 5, Chris Middleton, Eric Bledsoe, Kristaps Porzingis, Pascal Siakam, Bam Adebayo. Those are Awesome's top 5 SuperDraft picks on the slate today. So if you want to put in some plays around them, that's the way to do it. But those are the guys that could be core building blocks for you. And all those guys too, I would say we've had some guys here that have felt flighty before that have popped up because of a good minutes projection combined with the multiplier. But Josh, do you agree that these guys feel like some of the more secure SuperDraft plays we've had up top and the amount of shows we've done?
Yeah, so my top 5, Middleton, Porzingis, Bledsoe, Bam, and Pascal Siakam, all have at least a 40% chance of being top 10 overall scorers on SuperDraft. That's just the guys you want.
Yeah, I agree. They're just guys who have a secure floor. Also, in the case of Pascal Siakam, gets a bit of a boost because of Noah Ibaka out there. Going to see some run inside as well, regardless of Hollis Jefferson and Boucher being in the mix. So yeah, it does look like Siakam is a play that I would really trust here. And Porzingis, we talked about earlier as well. I think people are a little bit afraid of him on some of the DFS sites with where his price is. But at that multiplier on SuperDraft, the 1.35x, he just looks like a really rock solid play with that usage without Luka on the floor. Let's see here. Anybody jumping out to you as being somebody you think will be under-owned on SuperDraft but still has a pretty good projection for you or a good multiplier?
I mean, given where Alex had him, I would guess Donovan Mitchell isn't going to pick up nearly as much ownership as I am expecting. Jamal Murray. I like Donovan Mitchell a lot more now that Mike Conley is out, now that I think about it. That's not something that I updated the sheet for. De'Aaron Fox, a lot of guards. Murray, Lowry, Fox, Van Vliet. Kelly Oubre, but I'm obviously high on that dude.
Jokic at 1.1x, I wouldn't mind either as a pivot to some of the other guys. If you're not playing one of the center plays that we talked about up top,
he's my number 2 center.
Yeah, so yeah, sorry, you had him projected really well overall. Not a big multiplier boost for him at 1.1x, but still very much in play there, and could definitely spike an upside as he has pretty much every game recently since Murray went out with that injury.
For sure.
Obviously Murray's back in though, but he's still
55 in the SuperDraft contest, so still have just under 300 spots to get in. 6 minutes to go. Use the promo code Osmo, get yourself $20.
Yeah. Again, use that promo code Osmo when you sign up. Do it right at the sign up page. It's the easiest way to do it. But when you sign up, use the promo code Osmo. And then when you deposit your $100, you get $20 free with that deposit. So it just comes to you right away. No slow drip. I'm not trying to keep you on the hook here. You just got to play that money and then it's yours to keep. And Super Cash does work just like cash. Again, you just have to enter a tournament. And if you win the money, it's yours. And that's about as simple as you get. So take advantage of the overlay and the deposit bonuses on there. Looks like tonight we might not overlay too much. If we do, it'll just be them absorbing the rake. But go check them out and just sign up. We talk about them every day here, but it'll do yourself a benefit here to be on SuperDraft and checking them out, especially with the 4K prizes up top that they're doing. And I believe later in the week, we're going to have the biggest tournament they've done. Yeah. The pretty big prize up top. So just get in there now. Take advantage of the deals they're offering.
I'm really excited to eat dinner. I'm starving.
I am not going to eat dinner. I'm eating a Chipotle salad bowl later because I've been eating too much dinner the last few days. So too many cooks.
Fair enough. Hopefully you got some Chipotle away.
Yeah, I'm not a person who get my dietary system. We just smooth sailing always for now. Wait, give me 10 more years and I'm sure it'll all catch up and make it painful.
Not me.
People coming in the YouTube chat and declaring Conley out with caps lock. That's We've known that for a little bit, Larry, but we appreciate your enthusiasm, my
For
friend.
sure. Thanks, Larry.
You ever play Leisure Suit, Larry?
No.
Okay. Great computer game for when I was a little kid. It was like an adult computer game though, where Larry was on the prowl. Larry was on some vacation resort and making love to ladies, but there was a strong comedy component to it that wasn't just a porn game. I'm sure SuperDraft loves me talking about Leisure Suit, Larry.
Did you ever play Plumbers Don't Wear Ties?
Is that an actual game?
It is. That is an adult game as well.
Oh, is that like a Mario offshoot where he gets down to business?
Not quite.
Someday.
Google it. It's an adult-oriented romantic comedy graphic adventure and dating sim.
I used to play some of the dating sim games on Newgrounds when that was a site where like all the Flash games and all that.
I don't know what that is.
It was like a site where like everything was Flash. They had a lot of the edgy early internet animations or whatever. But then they also had games on there. And one of the games that I remember playing when I was like maybe a sophomore in high school was like a Japanese dating sim that was ported over. And nothing like too gross, but it was odd because it just treats like the woman like a Tamagotchi.
Weird.
Yeah, but whatever floats people's boat, I guess. And for sophomore aged me, that worked. That was enough to not worked in the way that you might be interpreting.
There you go.
Worked in terms of filling time. There you go. Nate W. Leisure Suit Larry, greatest game of all time. Leisure Suit Larry deserves a reboot. It was a very well written and clever game.
So does Plumbers Don't Wear Ties.
I'm gonna have to look that up because I'm not familiar at all. Got about 200, less than 200 entries. No, 200 entries about to fill up this tournament. So get in there now. Still got 3 minutes, and it's looking like we may have a little bit of overlay, or at least the rake being absorbed by SuperDraft. So just get in there. Again, 4K up top, really good prize pool. And once again, that top 5 on SuperDraft, according to Awesome's projections: Chris Middleton, Eric Bledsoe, Kristaps Porzingis, Pascal Siakam, Bam Adebayo. We cannot make building a lineup on SuperDraft any easier than giving you the first 5 guys. So just go put those guys into a lineup right now. Decent chance you'll end up profiting. Some people actually slacked me after the show on Friday, where there was a lot more overlay on that one, but people literally profiting just from putting a lineup in the second that the tournaments start. And that's going to be the case a lot of times on SuperDraft right now as they get their footing as a site. So go check them out right now at superdraft.io. All right. Anything good in the Slack? DA24 wanted to ask us about his dinner, which I'm inclined to answer because that's the kind of customer service we give for SuperDraft. Where'd it go? Oh, DA, I don't know where your dinner went, buddy. Oh, wait, no, it's gone. I guess I can't answer that question. Ben Napple, though, asking top 1.7x or bigger guards tonight. He's eyeballing Brunson. I think I'd personally rather go Bowman over Brunson, but was there anybody else above 1.7x who looked good to you?
Above 1.7?
Yep, at guard.
I mean, I would go to Bowman for sure in that scenario. Mike Conley is out, so not him. Dragic is 1.7 if that works. Terrence Davis 1.75. Duncan Robinson 1.8. Kai Bowman at 2. Those would be the guys that I've been looking at.
Chelsea Myers is also asking, and I don't know if you had any sort of insights into this from your research you've done, but can you talk about what % you'd own these guys? I guess, like, do you feel like there's an amount that's too chalky on SuperDraft for some of them, or no?
Yeah, I do. I like some of these guys show up in like 90% of lineups, and I think that you can pretty easily come in a little bit lighter than that. At the same time, that is likely going to be the topic of the next Office Hours video. Where we can talk about setting exposure caps and trying to get like highly projected unique combinations of these guys, because I think rotating the chairs is more important than like having a big player pool, like trying to get the most combinations of the guys that are the best, which is sort of the process of DFS regardless, but that's going to be the topic of the next office hour. So if you actually want to know that, sign up, awesemo.com/join, promo code live before lock, 50% off your first week.
There you go. Yeah. So check out Josh's next office hours. Obviously, we're still getting our footing with the site in terms of how to give you the advice, but we try our best to make sure you guys have a pretty good bit of tools in your arsenal to go and attack SuperDraft, because there is a lot that benefits you just by playing on there right now. Looks like there's going to be about 130 or so entries short for today's big jump shot tournament. That's happening a lot, especially in the back half of the week, though. On Friday, we're not going to have any NBA games to go with on SuperDraft. Thursday, there will be. Wednesday, there will be. So take advantage of the overlay on there. Take advantage of how simple we're trying to make it for you guys to get on board. and just get some money from SuperDraft right now. Well, they're willing to give it to you, which they are doing right now at superdraft.io. Use that promo code OSMO when you sign up. Do it at the sign up page. It's the easiest way to do it. Get yourself $20 free with your deposit of $100 or more. And we are locked for the jump shot as well as everything here. So Josh, anything you want to hit on before we call it quits here for another day in the DFS coal mine?
Yeah, DFS God in YouTube chat said, DFS sucks. I am quitting for good. No one can predict when someone does good or not. Well, if God can't do it, no one can.
DFS God really selling his name short in a meaningful way. Jesus.
Must be the God of Scientology.
I mean, yeah, maybe that's God gave us all free will, guys. So the DFS God is giving us the free will to not be a quitter. That's actually hilarious. How can you make that your name and give up on DFS?
For the record, yes, no one can predict when someone does good or not. That is a true statement. That's the point of all of this. The moment someone thinks that they can is the moment that you should never listen to them talk about DFS.
Yeah, DFS is a game of multiple outcomes, and you're trying to find the most likely ones, and also pairing that with the other information we have about what other people are playing. That is the name of the game here. So hopefully you find your faith again, DFS God. And if you are somebody out there worshiping DFS God, instead come and worship at the altar of Awesome. Oh, we're getting sacrilegious real fast here, but use the promo code live before lock to get half off your first week at awesemo.com/join. SuperDraft projections were free today. They are not free every day. So you want to get in there and have the best projections when we don't do one of these shows. Go right now to awesemo.com/join and get yourself a weekly pass for half off that first week with the promo code live before lock. Anyway, tomorrow, do we know who's on the show tomorrow?
No idea. Matter. Not me.
All right. Well, it's not me, not Josh tomorrow. I think it'll be maybe Fast Eddie and somebody, but tune in then. Obviously, we'll be back on YouTube again. So yay, YouTube. And Josh and I will be back with you guys later in the week. So we appreciate you watching. Hope you have a great night and we'll see you guys again soon. So enjoy your nights and good luck.